Zhou was jolted awake by his own hand. To be precise, he was roused by the soft, warm texture beneath his fingers. He gave an involuntary squeeze. A girl's soft murmur rang out. He blinked awake groggily, and a girl's face filled his field of vision. Her eyelashes were long enough to balance a match stick on them. She had a straight nose, her lips slightly parted, and her warm breath fanned across his chin. They were less than 20 centimeters apart. Zhou Ye's gaze instinctively drifted downward. Fair skin. Further down. His left hand was resting squarely on the girl's chest. His brain froze for 2 seconds. Then, as if burned, he snatched his hand away and lurched backward. His back slammed into another soft, warm body. MMPH, who's pressing on me? Another girl's voice came from behind, thick with drowsiness. Zhou Ye stiffened. Holding his side, lying posture, he slowly scanned his surroundings. A raft. A ridiculously small raft, roughly 5 to 6 square meters in size, built from a dozen logs bound together with hemp rope. Through the gaps, seawater glinted below. There was nothing on the raft. No canvas, no crates, no tools. Only 7 people. 6 girls, plus himself. All of them were completely naked, their skin pale under the sunlight. Long legs, slender waists, and varied body shapes were fully exposed beneath the sun. Zhou Ye's heart hammered in his chest, pounding so hard it felt ready to burst out of his throat. Wait a second. I was just sleeping in my dorm. Where on earth have I ended up? Is this heaven? The girl he had touched fluttered her eyelashes and slowly opened her eyes. Their gazes locked. Her eyes dropped to her own bare body, then moved to Zhou Ye before landing on the spot his hand had rested. A faint red mark still lingered there. Her fair face flushed bright red in an instant. Hawk! A scream pierced the air. She scrambled backward, clutching herself tightly, and collided with another girl at the edge of the raft. What is it? The second girl woke up too. She saw Zhou Ye, glanced down at herself. Hawk! Her scream was even louder. What's going on? Where are my clothes? There's a man here. Where? Oh my God, pervert. Why aren't you wearing any clothes? Pervert. Don't look. Turn around. Zhou Ye spun around at once, only to face another girl. She was crouched, arms wrapped around herself, staring daggers at him as if she wanted to devour him alive. Slender, built, with distinct collarbones, her frame was clearly outlined. They stood less than a meter apart, face to face. Shut your eyes, the girl shouted, sharp and furious. Zhou Ye closed his eyes. Squat down. He squatted. Turn around. Which way am I supposed to turn? There's someone everywhere. Frustrated, the girl looked around for something to throw at him, but there was nothing on the bare raft. She waved her hands uselessly in the air and could only hug herself tighter. A bare 5 square meter raft. 7 naked people. The raft rocked violently. Zhou Ye opened his eyes reflexively, unavoidably taking in everyone around him. Some had long legs, some slim waists. Each girl had a distinct figure. All 6 huddled inward, arms across their chests and knees drawn tight, like a flock of frightened doves. Stop pushing, Zhou Ye shouted, keeping his eyes shut again. If we tip this raft over, we'll all end up fish food. Nobody listened to him. Shoved by the panicking girls, the raft swayed wildly. Ocean waves splashed over the logs. People stepped on each other's feet. One girl was pushed perilously close to the edge. Screams, arguments, and sobs filled the air. Don't push me. I'm going to fall in. Whose elbow is that? It's digging into me. Wah, I want to go home. Quiet. A cool, clear voice cut through the noise. It came from a tall girl with loose, flowing long hair. She was crouched, her back held straight. Like the others, she held her arms over her body, yet she carried herself with remarkable composure. Her long hair spilled over her shoulders, partially covering her collarbones. Her jawline was sharp, and her beautiful peach blossom eyes held no trace of panic. Every girl fell silent at once. If we keep crowding like this, the raft will capsize and we will all die, she said calmly. Her tone was unhurried, yet every word carried unignorable weight. Calm down first. Squat and hold yourself steady. Soft rustling sounds followed, and the commotion died away. You. The cool voice addressed Zhou Ye. What's your name? Zhou Ye snapped out of his daze and realized she was speaking to him. Zhou Ye, stay where you are and don't move. You may open your eyes, but do not stare around. Zhou Ye opened his eyes and stared straight ahead. In front of him stretched an endless expanse of ocean. The sunlight blazed bright across the undisturbed sea surface. Occasional clouds drifted overhead, casting fleeting shadows across the water like some silent signal. Behind him, the girls began talking in hushed tones. What do we do now? We don't even have a scrap of cloth. Let's assess the situation first. Everyone state your name and what you remember. I'm Qin Xiaoyu. I only remember sleeping in my dorm, and then I woke up here. And her voice rose sharply. Whose hand was on me just now? Was it you? The last words were clearly directed at Zhou Yi. I just woke up too. It was an accident. Zhou Yi was equally exasperated. How could this possibly be his fault? As if I believe you. Qin Xiaoyu. See, you cut her off. Let's focus on what matters. Qin Xiaoyu huffed and dropped the subject. Still, Zhou Yi could feel her gaze boring into the back of his head. Lin Wanner. The last thing I recall is taking a shower in my dorm. Her voice was gentle, with a soft lilt, like a feather brushing against one's ear. Zhao Linger. I was asleep, and suddenly I'm here. Her tone was teary and soft. Tang Guogua. I was asleep too. Her voice was faint, almost inaudible. Yi Wanqing. I had just finished running and gone back to my dorm to shower. Her tone was crisp and cool. Suyu. Same as all of you. My last memory is sleeping in my dorm. Zhou Yi silently built a mental picture of each girl. Suyu. The most level-headed, tall, long-haired, and seemed hard to get close to. Qin Xiaoyu. Hot, tempered, currently the most hostile toward him. Her features were as exquisite as a figurine, and she had an outstanding figure. Lin Wanner. Gentle. She had a well-proportioned frame and an impressively slender waist, and her voice was wonderfully pleasant to hear. Zhao Linger. Naturally soft-voiced, not putting on an act. Tang Guogua. Prone to crying. Slender and youthful, barely spoke above a whisper. Yi Wanqing. Also cool, tempered, lean and toned, clearly someone who worked out regularly. 6 girls, each beautiful in their own distinct way. Plus him, the only guy? Wow. It was like getting stranded with an entire dorm of campus beauties. At that exact moment, a cold mechanical voice echoed inside all 7 people's heads. Ding! 7 survivors detected awake. System activating. Welcome to Endless Sea, Raft Survival. All humans aged 18 to 50 across the globe have been transported. Physical condition restored to baseline. Current zone, Huaxia, 9637. Survivors, 99,998/100,000. Raft ID, 9527. Area, 5 square meters. Survivors on board, 7. Endless Sea rules. Fishing is the primary way to obtain supplies in the early game. Each survivor has a personal system backpack. Only inanimate objects may be stored. Access via thought. Items of the same type may be stacked infinitely. Do not enter the water lightly. Extreme danger lurks beneath the waves. Day 1 is the new player protection period. Conditions are relatively safe. Develop quickly. Beyond today, you will face constant threats. A major disaster event will occur every 7 days. Mentally call up Status Panel to open your personal interface. Issuing starting fishing rod for each survivor. Rod quality is random, graded S, A, B, C, D. Higher grade rods increase odds of catching high-quality loot. Fishing rods are soul-bound, cannot be swapped, traded, or destroyed. The first 5 casts per day count as special casts, guaranteed to yield loot of random quality and type. After 5 casts, drop rates depend on rod rank. A translucent pale, blue light screen appeared before every person. Floating at its center was a fishing rod phantom, slowly solidifying. Beneath the phantom, characters flickered rapidly, quality being assessed. The fishing rod phantom on Zhou Ye's screen looked different from everyone else's from the very start. Others saw gray, white phantoms wreathed in faint mist. Zhou Ye's phantom swirled with brilliant golden light, as if molten gold had been poured into the shape of a rod, bright enough to sting the eyes. Quality assessment complete. Exclamations burst out behind him. I got B rank. Not bad. C rank, am I doomed? A rank. I pulled A rank. Surprised cheers and groans mixed together, all within reasonable expectations. A rank was top tier. B rank acceptable. C rank barely passable. Then came Zhou Ye's result. The system voice shifted. No longer cold and mechanical. It deepened, ancient and resonant, like seawater flowing slowly through a 10,000-meter deep ocean trench. Abnormal energy fluctuation detected. Recalibration complete. Zhou Ye's light screen burst apart, swallowed entirely by golden radiance. The fishing rod phantom solidified completely. The rod was jet black, made of a material neither wood nor metal. Dark, gold patterns flowed across its surface, resembling ocean waves or ancient ruins. Congratulations, survivor Zhou Yi. Obtained. SSS, grade Blessing of the Sea God unique item. One of a kind across the entire server. Bound to user. Cannot be dropped, traded, or destroyed. Trait 1. No bait required. May cast directly. Trait 2. Beyond the standard 5 daily special casts, gain an additional 5 special casts. These are guaranteed to reward high-grade supply crates. Trait 3. The rod levels up with total casts. Level ups increase the number of special casts available. Hidden trait. Using the rod gradually enhances the wielder's physical stats. Strength, agility, stamina, defense. Every cast makes you stronger. Current stats: Zhou Yi. Age 22. Male strength, 5 average, 6 agility, 6 average, 5 stamina. For average, 5 defense, 3 average, 4. Chaos erupted behind him. SSS grade. A unique item? Is there a bug in the system? Why does he get the golden pull? System functioning normally. Hidden prize pool, trigger probability, 0.00001%. Triggered by random chance. Congratulations to Raft 9527. The system tone remained flat, yet the word congratulations sounded bitterly sarcastic right now. 0.00001%. Qin Xiaoyu's voice trembled. You could have won the lottery with this luck. Why end up here? I wish I could. Zhou Yi shrugged. Captain eligibility evaluation in progress based on fishing, rod quality, and overall conditions. Captain of Raft 9527, Zhou Yi. Captain privileges, Resource Allocation Authority, Expulsion Authority, Raft Renaming Authority. If the captain dies, the raft sinks and all on board are eliminated. Silence fell for a moment. Then Qin Xiaoyu spoke, her tone one of defeated exasperation. SSS, grade rod for him, and he's captain too. We might as well rename this raft Zhou Yi and his 6 side characters. Yi Wanqing was quiet for 2 seconds. Makes sense. Zhao Ling'er stifled a laugh, then quickly clapped a hand over her mouth. Zhou Yi's mouth twitched. Meanwhile, the World Channel exploded. World Channel player. What rank is everyone's fishing rod? I got C rank, am I finished? Player. Got B rank, will make do. Player. A rank. I drew A rank. I'm the chosen one. Player. It's only A rank, not the absolute top. Don't get overexcited. Player. D rank. After my 5 guaranteed casts, I fished 10 more times and got 9 kelp. I'm seriously considering jumping into the sea. Player. Don't do it. Someone just jumped off our raft. Now we're down to 5 people. Player. Did everyone see the system announcement? SSS grade. One of a kind. Raft 9527. Player. Insane. Player. Anyone else desperate for clothes? 6 of us on my raft are naked, and all we fish up is planks. Player. Anyone want to trade 3 planks for a set of clothes? Player help. For guys on my raft, all naked. I joked I was gay and they believed me. Now I feel extremely awkward. Player. Why is our captain a girl? I made one suggestion and she told me to shut up, said she'd throw me overboard if I talked back. Is that normal? Player. Totally normal. Our captain's also female. The 2 guys on our raft are totally cowed. The World Channel was flooded with all kinds of messages. Countless friend requests and private messages flooded Zhou Yi's personal page. He glanced briefly, then turned off friend requests entirely and cleared all the useless private messages in one go. This had only just begun. If the system hadn't broadcast his achievement to the whole server without asking, he would have preferred to stay out of the spotlight. His overpowered fishing rod alone was risky enough, and the 6 girls aboard made him an even bigger target. Innocent as one might be, possessing coveted assets draws danger. Keeping a low profile was the sensible choice. He looked down at the fishing rod in his hand. The golden patterns along its shaft glowed faintly. Silence. 6 pairs of eyes fixed on Zhou Yi. Crouching where he was, he could feel their gazes like 6 sharp blades on his back. Zhou Yi gave an awkward smile. Rest assured, I won't throw any of you overboard. He kept the follow-up thought to himself. Enough. So you cut in. Since the system has made the ruling, arguing changes nothing. Zhou Yi stared at the rod in his hands. Tiny characters were carved into the grip, written in an unfamiliar script he could somehow understand. Blessing of the Sea God. The fishing line was silvery, fine as hair, ending in a small black hook. There was no float or sinker, just line and hook, looking deceptively ordinary. Would you like to name your raft? Zhou Yi thought for a moment. He was the only male captain, with 6 girls on board. It reminded him of a well-known 3-word title game. The raft shall be named Hyperion. Raft renamed successfully, Hyperion. Try out your rod, Suyu suggested. Now. Zhou Yi was caught off guard. Right now? Let's see what this golden legend can really do. Qin Xiaoyu's tone was tinged with envy. Zhou Yi stood up, then realized he was exposed, and quickly crouched back down. You can cast while squatting, Yi Wanqing said. All right then. Crouching at the raft's edge, Zhou gripped the rod and flicked it. The silver line arced gracefully and fell into the sea without a splash. The hooks sank beneath the waves, the silver line nearly invisible in the sunlight. Everyone held their breath. Some 10 seconds passed. The line snapped taut. Zhou hauled back instinctively. Purple light burst upward from the ocean surface. Ding! Fishing successful. Obtained. Purple, grade high tier supply crate times 1 contents. Basic clothing times 7, self. Heating rice meals times 15. Fresh water times 3L. Rope times 20 meters. Wooden planks times 10. A warm current flowed from his palms through his whole body. That must have been the rod's physical enhancement effect. Zhou pulled the crate onto the raft and opened it. 7 simple white short-sleeved shirts lay neatly on top. They were plain cotton tops, nothing fancy, and there were no trousers. Even so, at this moment they were more precious than any designer brand. Silence hung over the raft for 2 beats. Then Zhao Linger burst into tears. "We have clothes," Tang Guogua cried too, though a smile tugged at her lips. No more being naked. Qin Xiaoyu snatched one shirt and pulled it on in a rush, as if racing against others for it. Lin Wanner spoke softly. "Thank you, Captain." Her voice was as gentle as the sea breeze. The rest reached for shirts as well. After taking his own shirt, Zhou turned resolutely toward the ocean, waiting until the sounds of movement behind him died down. "We're decent now," Suyu called. Zhou turned back. The 6 girls wore identical plain white short-sleeved shirts. Their hair was still messy, and they were no longer exposed. Yet their situation was hardly ideal. They only had tops, no lower garments. The shirts only covered their upper bodies. On shorter girls, the fabric stretched far enough to cover most of their thighs, acting like a short tunic. For the taller girls, the coverage was very limited. All the girls shifted awkwardly, tugging at their shirts, but the cloth was too short. The harder they pulled, the more their upper body silhouettes showed. After several attempts, the group finally compromised. It was far better than being completely naked a moment ago. As a man, Zhou had it much easier. He took some clothing and wrapped it tightly around his waist to serve as makeshift shorts. Qin Xiaoyu glanced at the clothes securely fastened around Zhou's waist, subconsciously letting her eyes drift over the firm muscle definition of his upper body. She then looked down at her own partially exposed lower half and said in a slightly envious tone, "Guys really do have it easier. No worries about accidental exposure." Zhou did not reply. His mind was occupied with a more pressing problem. Now that the 6 girls had put on clothing, the atmosphere felt more awkward than it had earlier. When everyone had been completely bare, the sight had grown mundane after a while. Now their upper bodies were covered, yet parts of their lower limbs were still visible, creating a far more awkward visual situation. He forced distracting thoughts out of his head. If he kept staring, things would only get uncomfortable, so he quickly turned around to gaze out toward the ocean. World Channel. Big head rain. Don't fret. Big shots aboard the Hyperion. Are you taking new members? I can cook and keep people company. Real, man, Juin. Dude, you're a guy? You just said you had nothing on a minute ago. Can't. When can't. Understand. Hey, what's the crew set up on the Hyperion? May is my wife. Wait, the Hyperion? Holy crap, the captain? Is he the only guy on board, and everyone else is female? QQ. Mia, Mia, tasty, Mia, poo. T. I've got 4 guys and 1 girl over here. The girl's totally stressed out. I'm a total gentleman, I swear. AAA, kelp, wholesale, market. At least you've got a girl. Our raft has 7 guys. Our chat topics have devolved into comparing who caught the longest piece of kelp. Tide, spirit, 7 guys, that's hilarious. Raft should rename itself Shaolin Temple Branch. Poor, A. Cappuccino 4. Auntie, big shot on the Hyperion. You need an extra crew member? I can hang underneath the raft. Won't take up any space at all. Zhou's mouth twitched, and he closed the channel. Behind him stood 6 strikingly beautiful girls, with 6 pairs of long fair legs within his line of sight. Some were slender and straight, others lithe and shapely, some small and pale. The hems of their garments formed a gray boundary around their waists, with smooth skin visible below. Zhou subconsciously swallowed hard. Hope I can keep my composure. His first cast had brought great loot, so Zhou felt inspired to keep fishing. He had 5 initial special fishing attempts. Only the first had yielded high-quality rewards. The rest brought basic supplies and food, no high-tier treasure chests. Zhou did not get discouraged. He still had 5 more attempts from his fishing rod, which guaranteed high-tier supply crates. Behind him, the girls sat down and began fishing as well. Everyone got guaranteed drops on their first 5 casts each. They hoped to reel in more fabric, as their current state left them feeling extremely self-conscious. It would have been one thing if only girls were present, but there was also a strange man on the raft. Though he was handsome and well-built, that was beside the point. Unfortunately, their fishing results were unremarkable. Aside from the clothes Zhou Yi had caught, everyone else pulled in basic food, building materials and components. They tallied up their gains. 6 girls, 5 special casts each, 30 total pulls. Food: braised beef flavor instant noodles times 15, 500 ml mineral water times 12, self-heating rice meals times 20, compressed biscuits times 6, packaged bread times 5, carbonated soft drink times 1. Materials items: metal parts times 20, wood times 53, hemp rope times 25, electronic components times 21, springs times 17, rubber times 6, glass times 8, packaged toilet paper times 2. The food stock was not huge, but enough for 2 full meals. Zhou Yi's high-tier supplies were not counted in this tally. With enough wood and hemp rope, the group's first priority was expanding the raft. 50 wood, 20 hemp rope. Remaining, wood 3, hemp rope 5. Raft upgrade successful. Current size, 4x4. The raft shook beneath their feet. Fresh logs materialized out of thin air between the original bound timbers. Hemp rope wove itself automatically, extending outward along the edges. The logs locked tightly together, gaps reduced by more than half. All 4 sides pushed outward. The area expanded from 5 square meters to 16, more than tripling in size. The shaking lasted roughly 10 seconds before stopping. Qin Xiaoyu reacted first. She lay flat on the planks, stretching her arms and legs wide. Finally, I can stretch my legs all the way out. She exhaled deeply, eyes closed, a look of hard-won relief on her face. The next second, her eyelids twitched. Something felt off against her lower body. Her clothing only covered her upper torso. As she lay flat, the fabric slid upward, exposing more skin. Sea wind blew past, cool against her legs all the way to her thighs. Qin Xiaoyu's eyes flew open. She tugged the garment hem down hard, rolled over onto her stomach, and pressed her legs tightly together. She buried her face in her arms, the tips of her ears bright red. "That brat got lucky," she mumbled quietly. Her voice was soft, yet the newly expanded raft was quiet enough that everyone heard her. Zhou Yi, who had just fished up a high-tier supply crate at the raft's edge, paused. He glanced sideways, but said nothing. He quietly stowed jackets and shorts from the crate into his system backpack. "Little girl complains about me. Fine, let her stay uncomfortable for a little while longer," Zhou Yi thought to himself. "Hey, if Zhou Yi hadn't fished up those clothes, we'd still have nothing. We should be grateful," Lin Wanner said gently. She glanced toward Zhou Yi's quiet fishing figure. "Besides, he hasn't acted out of line. He's kept his distance. Yeah, as captain, he could decide our fate, yet he never tried to force us into anything. That's already pretty good," Tang Guoguo replied while sorting supplies. Zhao Linger nodded repeatedly, her twin tails bouncing. "Has anyone seen what's being said on the public channel?" Yi Wanxing spoke up suddenly. She sat cross-legged at the rear, right corner of the raft, her system panel open, pale blue light washing over her face. "The public channel? What happened?" Zhao Linger leaned over. Yi Wanxing glanced toward Zhou Yi and lowered her voice. "Some captains have already abused their authority. When the people on their raft refused their demands, everyone ended up drowning together." "What sort of demands?" Qin Xiaoyu scrambled over, curious for details. Yi Wanxing's cheeks flushed. She hesitated for a moment. "The obvious kind." Qin Xiaoyu froze, then understood. "Wow, and this is only day 1. Sure." Yi Wanxing shot her a warning look. Everyone opened the world channel, including Zhou Yi. He scrolled up and found the conversation the girls were discussing. World channel, survivors, 99,928/100,000. What's going on? So many people just died in this zone. I saw it happen not far from me. A male captain with female crew. He tried to pressure the girls with supplies and captain privileges. They refused, a fight broke out, and the whole raft sank. Unbelievable. We should be gathering supplies, not chasing selfish desires. Now they're all dead. Right now everything is chaotic. If a captain is reasonable, the whole group thrives. If he's rotten, this is what happens. Wait, so rafts can run into each other? Definitely. We met another raft earlier. I chased them off with a knife when they tried to board. Was that group 3 bearded men? Yeah, how did you know? Holy crap, they're beside my raft right now, offering to trade supplies. Help, survivors, 99,924/100,000. After closing the channel, Zhou Yi took a deep breath and looked at the girls behind him. What are we going to do? Zhao Linger's voice trembled. What if we run into people like that? She did not finish her sentence. Tang Guogua filled in the blanks. Will we get robbed? Or, her voice faded, the last words barely audible. Silence fell. Waves lapped rhythmically against the raft. Though 16 square meters was far roomier than 4, it suddenly felt cramped again. Tang Guogua let out a long breath and patted her chest to steady herself. At least Zhou Yi doesn't seem like that kind of person. She looked toward him. Right. All 6 girls turned to face Zhou Yi. Qin Xiaoyu watched him with scrutiny, no longer brimming with the morning time threat of kicking him overboard, but with a complicated wariness. I hope you are decent, but if you aren't, you will answer for it. Lin Wanner's gaze was soft yet serious, waiting for his reply. Zhao Linger blinked, her eyelashes fluttering. Tang Guogua huddled beside Zhao Linger, half hidden, showing both trust and lingering fear from the channel messages. Yi Wanqing's hand rested near a small knife, though she made no move to draw it. Su Yu simply observed him with calm eyes. Zhou Yi looked at the girls, seeing fear, anxiety, and a strange measure of trust directed toward this unfamiliar man. He sighed inwardly. As a normal man, distracting thoughts had crossed his mind earlier. With captain privileges, it would be tempting to take advantage of the situation. But these girls were not easy to push around. Seeing what had happened to that other group, he had no wish to end up in mutual destruction on the very first day. There would be plenty of time to build trust naturally later. Building rapport step by step was far better than forcing things. What are you all worrying about? He turned back toward the ocean, his tone steady. Get to work. If we don't gather more resources and expand the raft further, how will we survive future disasters? As for other survivors, Zhou Yi glanced down at his palms, feeling the stat boosts granted by his fishing rod, a faint smile tugging at his lips. With me here, no one will hurt you. Silence hung in the air for 2 seconds. Then Qin Xiaoyu's voice cut through it. TCH, showing off. Even so, the corners of her mouth lifted. Night fell. Without sunlight, the ocean turned pitch black. Luckily their raft was now 16 square meters. They no longer lived crammed shoulder to shoulder, tripping over each other with every step. As darkness settled, Zhou Yi grew concerned. If the girls caught cold with inadequate clothing, it would create big trouble. He made up his mind. He would stop teasing them. He had already seen more than enough throughout the day. Dragging it on would be plain disrespectful. Pretending he had just fished them up, he handed out jackets and trousers he had obtained in the afternoon. Note: everyone put on the full set of clothes right away, out of sight of others. The girls were delighted and quickly dressed themselves, suspecting nothing. This gesture erased the last trace of wariness they held toward Zhou Yi. He could easily have hidden the clothes and kept them in an uncomfortable state with zero personal cost. Instead, he prioritized the group's well-being over his own petty amusement. This raised their opinion of the handsome young man they had only just met. Now wearing shorts and jackets, Qin Xiaoyu spoke in her usual stubborn tone. Fine, I'll forgive you for taking advantage of me during the day, thanks to these clothes. Zhou Yi frowned playfully. Want to take back that forgiveness? Give the clothes back then. He reached out as if to retrieve them. No way. Qin Xiaoyu darted behind Su Yu at once. You can't take back gifts you've already given. Zhou Yi raised an eyebrow and shrugged, as if to say, you see, I am not the unreasonable one. This made the other girls laugh. Joking aside, they needed to stay warm for the night. Fortunately, building a campfire on the raft did not consume raft durability. Zhou Yi used wood and stone from his system backpack to create a campfire. The 7 of them sat around it for warmth. Though ocean temperatures shifted overnight, the fire kept them reasonably comfortable. Dinner was self-heating rice, simple and filling. Zhao Linger had found them among the supplies. System produced braised beef self-heating rice only needed seawater poured onto the heating pack to cook. 7 boxes lined up beside the fire. The heating pack sizzled, thin white steam rising through the lid vents. Just like sneaking hot pot in a university dorm, Zhao Linger squatted beside the boxes, checking their temperature every few moments. Almost done, almost done. You could cook hot pot? Our dorm trips the circuit even for hair dryers. Qin Xiaoyu sat with her knees drawn up, staring into the flames. Ours trips too. We always posted someone by the circuit breaker, ready to flip it when dorm supervisors showed up, Tang Guogua mumbled. They chatted while waiting for dinner. Once ready, they tore open sauce packets and poured them over the rice. Plastic spoons dug into the grains, every kernel coated in glossy, savory sauce. Tang Guogua took a bite, and her eyes crinkled happily. 100 times better than campus cafeteria food. The beef noodles at our school only had 2 paper, thin slices of beef. Qin Xiaoyu mumbled through mouthfuls of food. I used to stare at the cafeteria lady, hoping she'd give me extra meat. We had kung Pow chicken that had hardly any chicken at all, just peanuts and cucumber, Lin Wanner sighed. We complained for half a semester. Guess what they did? Renamed it Kung Pow Peanuts. Ha! Tang Guo doubled over laughing. Even the normally reserved Yu Wanqing and Su Yu cracked faint smiles. What about you? Lin Wanner turned toward Zhou Yi. Any terrible cafeteria dishes at your school? Zhou Yi thought for a moment. Mooncake stir, fried with chili peppers. Orange, braised pork ribs. Green chili stir, fried with red chili. Qin Xiaoyu stared. What on earth was your school chef doing on this planet? Ha ha ha. While Zhou Yi's group enjoyed food and company, other survivors suffered far worse conditions. World Channel. Pretend, jump, off, roof, then, pee. I'm all alone on my raft. It's so dark, I'm scared. Many guys no harm. Same here. This chat channel is practically keeping me sane. At least we can talk to each other. Spicy rice cracker. Anyone trading fresh water? I've got a fresh water purifier blueprint. Dragon returns to sea. If you have the blueprint, why trade? Just build it yourself. Spicy rice cracker. Easier said than done. Blueprints mean nothing without materials. I need electronic components, wood, metal parts, glass, activated carbon. I'll die of thirst before I finish building it. That blueprint is my most valuable possession. Guys, is rice done? Fair enough. How much water are you asking for? Spicy rice cracker. At least 15 liters, no less. Tian Ba Dong Ba Tua. That's a steep ask for day one. Who has that much fresh water? Most people barely have 500 milliliter bottles. You buy Jiong. Yeah man, no one is going to meet that price. Zhou Yi read every line of the World Channel discussion. Fresh water, huh? He muttered to himself and checked his system backpack. He held 26 liters of fresh water, earned thanks to his high-level fishing rod. The girls had additional reserves of their own. Still, he had no intention of rushing into a trade. Fresh water was extremely precious early on. 7 people depended on this supply, and every drop needed careful management. He decided to wait and see if the man would lower his demands. Sure enough, after realizing no one was taking his offer, the man had softened his stance in the World Chat channel. Fire turkey flavored rice cracker. 15 liters is too much? 13 will do. 11, then. Who stole my blue? Look man, your freshwater purifier would be nice in a few days, but water is gold right now. Nobody can afford that trade. I really didn't steal your blue. Also, don't you need a workbench to craft it? Just like the rain collector blueprint I've got. A workbench. Zhou Yi frowned. He had completely forgotten about that detail. Many higher-tier blueprints required a workbench for crafting. That must be why the man's offer kept getting no takers. No one starting out would have enough materials to build both a workbench and a purifier. Funny thing is, I'm that someone. A smirk tugged at Zhou Yi's lips. When the man lowered his asking price to 8 liters of fresh water, Zhou Yi opened the chat interface. Storm at Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. I've got fresh water. Private trade. As the trade window popped up, Zhou Yi spotted a gray tag attached to his username. Hoberlian Raft Captain. He could not normally see this tag himself. It only displayed at the top of private chat windows, an automatic system-issued identity badge. The other party had clearly noticed it too. Messages poured in far faster than before. Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. Boss. Are you the guy who pulled the SSS-Rank fishing rod? Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. People in World Chat were talking about the captain from Raft 9527 drawing an SSS-grade fishing rod. Zhou Yi raised an eyebrow. News spread fast. He sent a short reply. Yes. Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. Do you have tons of fresh water and supplies? Storm. I'm here for the blueprint. Keep other questions to yourself. Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. Got it. How much fresh water are you offering? Zhou Yi leaned against the mast base. Storm. You shouted 8 liters in World Chat. I'll give you 8. The other user hesitated. The user is typing. Indicator flickered on and off repeatedly for roughly 20 seconds. Zhou Yi could easily guess what ran through the other man's mind. You have an SSS-Rank fishing rod, so you must be swimming in supplies. Why haggle over this little amount? Yet this was a buyer's market. Without water, the man would not survive long. Zhou Yi stayed calm. He twirled a wooden stick Su Yu had just whittled and waited for the reply. After 2.5 spins of the stick, a message arrived. Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. Fine, 8 liters it is. I won't make it through tonight without water. Zhou Yi's expression shifted slightly, and he typed another question. Storm, aren't there others on your raft? Don't they have water? Fire Turkey Flavored Rice Cracker. No one else. The system assigned me a 4 square meter solo raft at the start. Not a single person to talk to. He paused, adding another line. That's why I'm desperate for water. If I die of thirst out here, Nobody will even know. Zhou Yi tapped his knee with his fingers as he read the text. Storm. Very well. If you fish up any high-tier blueprints later, come trade with me. Fire turkey-flavored rice cracker. All right, thanks a ton, boss. I'll post the blueprint right now. Trade complete. 8 liters of fresh water vanished from Zhou Yi's system inventory, replaced by a yellowed parchment scroll. Zhou Yi took out the blueprint and unfurled it in the glow of the campfire. Primary freshwater purifier, solar-powered. Converts 50 liters of seawater into drinkable fresh water daily. Crafting materials, wood times 30, metal parts times 9, electronic components times 13, glass times 10, activated carbon times 10, solar panel times 1. Note, must be crafted at a primary workbench. Zhou Yi scanned the material list, his gaze locking onto the final item. 1 solar panel. Most materials were manageable, but solar panels were no basic loot. He had fished all day and had not seen a single one. What are you doing? Yi Wanqing's voice came from beside him. Zhou Yi looked up to find her standing at the raft's edge, looking down at him. Campfire light carved sharp light and shadow contours across her face. Nothing much. Zhou Yi rolled the blueprint away. I just traded for a freshwater purifier blueprint on World Chat. 1 material is still missing. Missing something? What? Lin Wanner's soft, curious voice sounded from the other side. She knelt on the wooden planks, firelight reflecting in her bright eyes. Once we build the purifier, we won't have to worry about water anymore, right? A solar panel. Zhou Yi paused. Plus, the primary workbench itself needs plenty of resources. We still need to gather more. A solar panel? Qin Shower poked her head over from across the campfire, chin resting on her knees. Once the purifier is built, we get 50 liters of fresh water each day. Zhao Linger wandered over, propping both hands against the planks, her legs swinging behind her. Is 50 liters enough? It's enough. Suyu spoke from the far side of the fire without lifting her head. 7 people need roughly 20 liters total for drinking and basic washing. 50 liters leaves extra for storage or further trades. That's wonderful. Zhao Linger's eyes crinkled. I only poured half a bottle of water for my instant noodles today to save supplies. The noodles never even softened. I thought you liked hard noodles, Qin Shower said. She ruffled Zhao Linger's hair, tangling her twin ponytails. Zhao Linger laughed and dodged, hiding behind Tang Guogua. About the workbench. Yi Wanqing cut through the chatter, sitting upright cross-legged beside Zhou Yi. Is that the blueprint we got from the purple treasure chest? Zhou Yi nodded. Can we craft weapons with it? Bows, spears, simple armor. Everything if we gather enough materials. Yi Wanqing fell silent for a second, then nodded, as if a heavy weight in her mind had lifted. Then we gather materials. Easier said than done, Qin Shower muttered. I fished nonstop all day and never saw a solar panel. Anyone else? Everyone shook their heads. It may not be part of the basic loot pool. Suyu set down her stick and looked up. It might require special conditions, maybe another blueprint. All eyes turned toward Zhou Yi. He owned the SSS-Rank fishing rod and had pulled a purple chest on his very first cast today. I'll give it a shot. Zhou Yi sighed. Night deepened. Most of the campfire wood had burned away. The orange flames shrank into a small cluster. Sea wind grew cooler, carrying salty ocean spray across the raft and bending the smoke sideways. One by one, the girls grew sleepy. Qin Shower was first to doze off, curled up with her arms under her head, mumbling something about fishing for solar panels tomorrow before drifting fully asleep. Zhao Linger lay beside her, her loose ponytail spread across the planks, breathing steadily. Tang Guogua huddled between Zhao Linger and Yi Wanqing, wrapped tightly like a small bundled figure, only the tip of her nose exposed. Lin Wanner lay on her side, her hair fanned over the wood, firelight flickering across the strands. Yi Wanqing settled down nearby and soon slept. Suyu lay down not far from Zhou Yi, facing him. The firelight flickered across her face until her eyelid movements ceased. Silence fell. Only the crash of waves and occasional crackles from the burning wood broke the quiet. Zhou Yi stayed awake. He pulled his fishing rod from inventory and gripped it for a moment. The SSS grade rod felt heavier than ordinary ones. Its handle radiated a faint, gentle warmth. He cast his line. The silver thread arced across moonlight and plunged into dark seawater. The splash glowed orange in campfire light before vanishing. First cast, low-tier food crate. Second cast, mid-tier supply crate. No solar panel. Zhou Yi cast a third time and leaned against the mast, waiting patiently. Time slipped by. The line suddenly jerked hard. Zhou Yi snapped his wrist and reeled. The rod bent into a dramatic curve. Heat surged from the handle into his palms. Whatever was on the hook was extremely heavy. It struggled little, dragging like a boulder from the ocean depths. The hook surfaced. Hanging from it was an egg. slightly larger than a fist, milky white with faint cyan iridescence. Its shell glazed smooth like porcelain. It still retained warmth. Obtained. Unknown egg times 1 quality. Description: a faintly glowing egg. Faint signs of life pulse beneath its shell. An egg. Zhou Yi stared at the warm, slippery object, confused. How on earth did this get hooked? Cyan patterns shimmered faintly across the shell in the darkness. Unable to figure it out, he stowed the egg in his inventory for later study. He added more wood to the campfire. Sleepiness washed over him, and he stretched out on open planks to rest. Next day, sunlight spilled over the ocean horizon. A shrill system announcement cut through the dawn sky. A vast pale blue hologram spread across the heavens, and cold mechanical audio boomed over the entire sea. Attention, all survivors. The new player protection period has officially ended. True survival challenges await. Hunger, dangerous sea creatures from uncharted waters, and threats from other human survivors. Good luck to you all. Ugh, so loud this early in the morning. Qin Shower mumbled without opening her eyes. Zhou Yi woke abruptly. He realized Lin Wanner lay beside him. She had curled up close against his torso in her sleep. His arm had somehow ended up near her side, her long hair spilling across his forearm, strands brushing his chin. Zhou Yi's mind blanked for 2 seconds. He had laid down alone last night. She must have rolled over in her sleep. He tried pulling his arm away millimeter by millimeter, moving as gently as he could. So warm. Lin Wanner murmured sleepily and snuggled closer, unconsciously holding onto his arm. Her eyelashes fluttered, and she suddenly opened her eyes. She noticed how close they were. Her face flushed bright red. Her body stiffened, still holding his arm before she quickly let go. Good morning, Zhou Yi spoke softly. Good morning. Her voice was barely audible. She rolled away to her left. Zhou Yi shifted half a meter to his right. Clear empty space separated them. I rolled over in my sleep. I'm so sorry. I toss and turn terribly. She fumbled to straighten her clothes, her fingers trembling, cheeks burning all the way to her ears. It's fine. I really didn't mean to. All right. Please don't misunderstand. I won't. Lin Wanner glanced upward briefly, then dropped her gaze again, lips pressed tightly together. Zhou Yi turned his gaze toward the open ocean. Woken by the system alert, Qin Shower had intended to roll back over to sleep, until something caught her eye. Where's Guogua? Everyone looked toward Tang Guogua's sleeping spot. It was empty, only a crumpled scrap of cloth left behind. Zhou Yi jumped to his feet. 7 or 8 meters away from the raft, a small figure thrashed in the water. Tang Guogua's wet hair clung to her face. She flailed her arms in panic, unable to cry out as seawater flooded her throat. She was choking. Guogua, Zhao Linger cried out sharply. Yi Wanqing sprinted for the raft edge, ready to leap in. Zhou Yi grabbed her firmly and pulled her back before she could jump. Yi Wanqing stumbled backward. Zhou Yi pushed hard off the wooden planks and dove into the sea. The raft jolted under the force of his leap. Enhanced physical stats from the fishing rod surged through his limbs. Strong strokes carried him quickly to Tang Guogua. Drowning and disoriented, she was sinking. Zhou Yi wrapped one arm around her waist and lifted her head above the waves. Cough. Tang Guogua coughed violently. Screams erupted from the raft. Get back. There's something in the water. Zhou Yi glanced down. A massive dark shape rose beneath them. Its flat body far outsized a stingray. Rows of ghostly blue bioluminescent spots glowed along its edges. Goosebumps covered Zhou Yi's skin. No time to think. Holding Tang Guogua safely above water with one arm, he swam desperately toward the raft. His heart hammered wildly. Every stroke burned his enhanced muscles. His hands hit the raft's edge. Multiple people reached over and hauled both of them onto the wood. Zhou Yi dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. Tang Guogua lay pale and unconscious on the planks. The shadow under the surface slowly descended, its blue lights fading one by one as if it had never appeared. What do we do? Zhao Linger's voice shook. Does anyone know CPR? The girls exchanged helpless glances. Zhou Yi wiped seawater from his face and knelt beside Tang Guogua. He tilted her head back to open her airway, preventing her tongue from blocking her throat. He began chest compressions. His stat-boosted strength required careful control to avoid fracturing ribs. Tang Guogua's body moved rhythmically beneath his steady hands. Zhou Yi kept his gaze fixed on his work. After 30 compressions, he pinched her nose shut and gave rescue breaths. Her chest rose. More compressions, another breath. On the second rescue breath, Tang Guogua coughed violently, expelling seawater from her mouth. She coughed repeatedly, chest heaving, and slowly opened her eyes, her lashes trembling. Her blurry vision fell on Zhou Yi's dripping face, water droplets falling onto her cheeks. She's awake, Zhao Linger cried. tears in her tone. Tang Guogua blinked, regaining awareness. Stay still, Zhou Yi said in relief. Rest for a while. She did not move. She stared at him, water droplets clinging to her eyelashes. Her pale lips parted. Thank you. Her voice came out hoarse and faint. It's all right. Recover well. Zhou Yi stepped away and began today's fishing work. The others watched his retreating back with complicated expressions. Color slowly returned to Tang Guogua's face. She turned her head and closed her eyes, her chest still rising and falling quickly. Zhao Linger rushed over and hugged her. Qin Shower knelt beside her and squeezed her hand. Su Yu fetched warm water, lifted her gently, and helped her sip slowly. After drinking a little, Tang Guogua regained some composure. I got up early to wash my face. A wave hit, and I fell overboard. I can't swim. I panicked and couldn't shout. You're safe now. Qin Shower patted her back. You scared us half to death. Thank goodness you two made it. Tang Guogua looked toward Zhou Yi, who knelt by the raft edge unpacking newly fished supplies. Morning sunlight stretched his shadow long across the planks. Out on this endless ocean, having someone reliable and capable to rely on stirred quiet feelings inside everyone's hearts. Ding. Fishing successful. Obtained. Purple, grade advanced supply crate. Contents. Fresh water times 8L, fresh fruit pack times 2, epic, grade solar panel blueprint times 1. Zhou Yi lifted his brows. A blueprint for solar panels. No wonder I never fished up a finished one. You have to craft it yourself. He unfolded the scroll. Epic, grade solar panel blueprint required materials. Electronic components times 30, metal parts times 25, high. Grade wood times 10, glass times 30, springs times 16, stone times 15. Function description. Absorbs sunlight and converts it into electrical energy. Output power 100 kW. Equipped with a 100 kilowatt-hour energy storage battery. It can supply power to 20 small-scale devices simultaneously. Conversion efficiency drops to 30% on cloudy days, and it automatically goes into sleep mode at night. Note, must be crafted at a workbench. Zhou Yi stared at the power generation panel on the blueprint, which was only the size of a computer monitor, and gasped. This tiny thing can generate this much power? It'd be such a waste to only use it for a primary fresh water purifier. This equipment should serve multiple public-use devices. Hooking it up to just one piece of gear is sheer squandering. There ought to be lower-tier power generation panels. I should keep fishing for more blueprints. And since it requires a workbench, I've got to build one first. He was about to get to work when a cheerful voice cut off his train of thought. I got it. Lin Wanner waved a sheepskin blueprint in her hand, barely able to contain her excitement. I traded for the primary power generation panel blueprint. Haggled for ages, and got it for 5 boxes of self-heating rice plus 2 bottles of mineral water. Nice work, Wanner. Zhou Yi gave her a thumbs up. You didn't give away too much information, right? Lin Wanner paused for a moment before catching on, then patted her chest confidently. Don't worry. I'm not careless. I didn't say a single extra word besides what was needed for the trade. Zhou Yi's gaze drifted toward the movement of her patting her chest. Careless or not, she certainly had a full figure. Her top stretched with the motion. Could she tone down those big gestures? Didn't she realize how noticeable her physique was? Noticing his stare, Lin Wanner glanced down toward her feet. She couldn't see anything. Quick-witted, she instantly realized what he had been looking at. Memories of what had happened first thing that morning crossed her mind, and her cheeks flushed bright red. She turned away and muttered, "Pervert." There was no real disgust in her tone, only a faint hint of self-conscious pride. Zhou Yi quickly faked a cough and turned his head away. Ahem, now that we've got the blueprint, we can start building the purifier. Wanner, you handle the purifier. The rest of us will keep reinforcing and widening the raft today. Don't worry about supplies. Just tell me if you need anything. Today we're definitely putting up a small log cabin and a few beds. Got it. Okay, no problem. Sure thing, that's easy. Understood. Let's go fish for supplies. This was the first time Zhou Yi had issued formal orders and divided everyone's labor. The effect exceeded his expectations. The 6 girls scattered at once, each picking up their fishing rods to fish for resources. No matter the drop rate, they would use up their daily guaranteed chances first. As for everything else, with Zhou Yi backing them up, they felt safe. Right after assigning tasks, Su Yu set down her fishing rod and stood up, squinting out toward the distance. Someone's coming. Everyone looked up at the same time. A black dot on the far horizon was drifting straight toward them. It was moving slowly, but its heading was clear. It was heading right for their raft. As it drew closer, its outline grew distinct. It was smaller than their own raft, roughly 10 square meters, with 3 men standing atop it. 3 men. One bald, one overweight, and one tall and lanky. All of them were shirtless, deeply tanned by the sun, with ragged cloth or palm leaf scraps wrapped around their waists. They carried fish spears and wooden clubs in their hands. Whoa! The bald man's eyes lit up the moment he spotted the 6 girls, and he whistled. Boys, we've hit the jackpot today. 1 guy, 6 girls. The overweight man grinned, baring yellowed teeth. Buddy, hogging 6 for yourself, isn't that a little greedy? The lanky man said nothing. His eyes swept repeatedly over the girls before settling on Lynn Warner. He licked his lips. Top tier. So young. Lynn Warner stepped back half a pace and unconsciously tugged her shirt higher. The bald man's gaze roamed shamelessly over the girl's legs, as if ready to lunge forward at any moment. There were no laws out here. To them, encountering one man surrounded by 6 women was like stumbling across a gift from heaven. Zhou Yi stood and walked to the edge of the raft, positioning himself in front of the girls. What do you want? His voice was calm. Nothing much. The bald man shook his fish spear. We can see you've got plenty of supplies and people over here. The 3 of us are crammed onto a tiny raft, all alone. How about you hand some over to us? As he said, hand some over, he jerked his chin toward the girls. The girls' expressions darkened, and they all moved behind Zhou Yi. Tang Guoguo was so frightened she nearly pressed herself against his back. Seeing the girls look to Zhou Yi for protection, the men's greedy gazes burned even hotter. Zhou Yi took another step forward, shielding them completely. We can negotiate over supplies, but not people. He glanced back at the girls and gave them a reassuring smile. I told you, as long as I'm here, no one is going to lay a hand on you. The bald man's grin lingered on his face, but his eyes turned cold. Buddy, do you really think this is a negotiation? He stepped forward. Their raft bumped against Zhou Yi's, and he raised his fish spear toward Zhou Yi. All 3 men jumped onto Zhou Yi's raft. Zhou Yi did not move. I'll say this one last time. His tone remained steady. We can talk about supplies. I'm in a decent mood right now, and I don't want to fight. With that scrawny build, you have no idea what you're. Before the overweight man could finish his sentence, he thrust his fish spear straight for Zhou Yi's chest. Zhou Yi dodged to the side, grabbed the shaft of the spear, and used the man's own momentum to pull him forward. The overweight man stumbled off balance, and Zhou Yi drove a kick into his stomach, sending him flying off the raft. He screamed as he splashed into the ocean. The bald man's face hardened. He swung his wooden club down hard. Zhou Yi blocked with the stolen fish spear. The impact jarred his palms. Instead of meeting brute force with brute force, he ducked low and swept the spear shaft against the bald man's calves. The bald man grunted, lost his balance, and took a whip kick to the chest. He toppled backward into the sea. The lanky man froze where he stood, fish spear raised. He glanced at his 2 thrashing companions in the water, then back at Zhou Yi. His hands shook around his weapon. Zhou Yi planted the fish spear firmly against the raft planks. Jump on your own, or do I help you? The lanky man swallowed, threw down his spear, and jumped into the sea of his own accord. The 3 men flailed in the water, scrambling back toward their small raft. The overweight man clambered onto it first and reached to pull the bald man aboard. As he hauled himself up, the bald man shouted back angrily, You brat! This isn't over. The girls let out breaths of relief. Qin Xiaoyu pressed a hand to her chest. That was terrifying. Thank goodness you. Her words died in her throat. Zhou Yi did not step back toward the center of the raft. He stayed where he was, eyes fixed on the 3 men clinging to their raft. More precisely, he stared at the seawater beneath them. Zhou Yi. Lin Warner called out tentatively. Zhou Yi did not turn around. He held up one finger, signaling for silence. He was waiting. From the very start, he had never intended to let them escape alive. These 3 would only become a continuing threat. He was not foolish enough to let tigers return to the mountains. But the system had warned him not to enter the water lightly, for the ocean held grave dangers. He had seen the massive shadow beneath the waves before. Now these men made perfect living decoys. This was the perfect chance to find out exactly what lurked down there. The 3 men in the water had no idea what was coming. The bald man had climbed onto his raft and was reaching to pull the lanky man up. The overweight man lay half over the raft's edge, spitting seawater and cursing. Damn it, once I get up there I'm gonna. He never finished his sentence. The raft jolted violently. It was no wave. Something huge had rammed it from directly underneath. He looked down into the water. All color drained from his face. There's something down here. The bald man glanced down as well. His features froze. A huge, shapeless dark mass, roughly 7 to 8 meters across, rose from the depths. Hurry, pull me up. Panic drenched the overweight man's voice, but his bulk made it impossible for him to pull himself aboard. The bald man and the lanky man grabbed his arms and strained to heave him upward. At that exact moment, a massive dark, red tentacle burst out of the water and coiled tight around the overweight man's legs, which were still submerged. Before the two men on the raft could react, overwhelming force dragged him downward. Pulled off balance, the two men lost their grip and were yanked into the sea alongside him. Roar! A bestial roar echoed up from beneath the waves. Two more enormous tentacles shot out, wrapping around the bald man and the lanky man as they tried to swim back toward their raft. Help! Help! Gurgle! Gurgle! Their desperate cries for help faded away. The three men vanished beneath the surface. The sea smoothed over once more, as though nothing had happened. A low hum echoed. 3 wooden chests bobbed up onto the water. The 6 girls stared numbly at the ocean, their faces drained of color. Are they dead? Lin Wanner's voice trembled. They're dead. Zhou did not look back. That's why the system warned us never to go into the water carelessly. Did you deliberately kick them into the sea? Suyu stared at his back and asked. Zhou glanced sideways at her. Suyu met his gaze and instinctively stepped back. You could say that. Zhou gave a faint smile. I'm no cold-blooded killer. I couldn't bring myself to strike them down directly. Letting the sea monster take care of them worked well enough. He sounded as casual as if he had just reeled in a fish. But Tang Guogua, standing closest to him, saw the truth clearly. Zhou's hands were shaking. His back was rigid, the outline of his shoulder blades sharp beneath his thin shirt. Indirect killing was not something anyone could process easily. Adrenaline was carrying him, and his mind had not yet fully processed what had just unfolded. Tang Guogua parted her lips to speak, but in the end she only quietly stepped a little closer to him. Still shaken by the close call, Lin Wanner stepped forward and hugged him tightly, burying her face against his chest. That was so scary. I thought you were going to die back then. Hey, it's fine. I'm still right here. Zhou stroked her hair gently, soothing her like a skittish animal. Yet the corners of his mouth kept lifting. This fishing rod's ability amazing. Zhou gently freed himself from Lin Wanner's embrace and stepped forward to retrieve the loot chests. Almost instantly, a system world announcement blared out. Raft Hyperion has defeated Raft Do. Gooder Zhou's mouth twitched. He wore a helpless expression. This blasted system broadcast practically everything. Besides, the sea monster had killed them. He had only provided a little assistance. Ignoring the announcement, he crouched down to tally their gains. Food: fresh water times 23L, rice 1 kg times 5, bread times 14, mixed congee times 10, soda times 7, self, heating rice times 30, packaged steak times 5 materials, wood times 80, stone times 35, springs times 30, metal parts times 32, electronic components times 25, rubber times 29. Items: facial tissue times 10 rolls, first aid kit times 2, simple clothing times 6, damaged women's stockings times 1, primary propeller blueprint times 1, 1.8 meter, size mattress blueprint times 2, air conditioner blueprint times 1, assorted vegetable seeds. Good grief. Zhou shook his head. If my fishing rod wasn't high level, I'd be suspicious. In just this short time, how many people must these 3 have robbed to amass this much stuff? Spawn points are random. Suyu frowned as she looked at the mountain of supplies piled on the raft. Maybe they spawned in a crowded area and kept running into weaker survivors. And killed them all. Yuanqing picked up the thread, taking everything for themselves. Zhou stood up and sighed. There's no civilization out here. The strong prey on the weak. Everyone lives by their own skill and their own conscience. Still, he shifted his tone. We certainly benefited from it. But what about that world announcement? Tang Guogua glanced at her floating screen, worried. Everyone in this area thinks we killed those men. World chat, put laxative on top. I'm not imagining things, right? Isn't Raft Hyperion the guy with the SSS grade fishing rod from yesterday? Sis opened the door at my brother. Already starting to kill for supplies? Interesting. Turkey-flavored rice cracker. Hold on. We don't know the full story. What if they attacked him first? Party at Flip Garden. The system warned us about other survivors this morning. Lose, and you get eliminated. No laws here. Scammed out of 69K retirement fund. Stop chatting and focus on surviving. I don't want to be the next victim. Tied up by factory guard for 2 days. Selling novelty silly hats. Make me an offer. Medicare for foot baths. Wait, you can fish those things up? Tang Guogua could not hold back a small laugh reading the bizarre usernames. It proved one thing. The system truly held nothing back. It kept your raft's supplies and number of members private, but broadcast nearly everything else. More system notifications popped up one after another. Congratulations to Raft Not Gay for defeating a giant manta ray monster. Obtained purple tier supply chest. Congratulations to Raft Fruit Cannon for slaying a low-rank, two-headed shark. Obtained blue tier supply chest. Congratulations. It worked exactly like an online game. Every player monster kill, and its rewards were announced to everyone. Such broadcasts were fun in a virtual game. But this was real-life survival, and the stakes were completely different. Zhou Yi scanned the scrolling announcements and blinked. Looks like there are powerful people out there. Some players are already fighting monsters. I wonder what price they paid, and whether the loot was worth it. He felt no envy toward those monster hunting rewards. Why risk your life fighting monsters when you could safely fish for resources with his rod? He had not yet gotten his hands on any chests above purple grade, but safety was worth more than rare loot. He closed the world chat window and turned toward the girls, exhaling deeply. We stick to our original plan, but first we need to build propulsion for the raft. Even just a sail would do. We can't stay sitting still waiting for enemies to find us like before. Zhou Yi, Yi Wanqing called out to him. We also need to craft long-range weapons. Those men already had fish spears. If you hadn't had enhanced physical ability, she trailed off, but everyone understood her point. I know. Zhou Yi nodded. First build the workbench, then craft weapons. He glanced down at their raft. We also need to reinforce and upgrade the raft itself. Let's keep pushing. After that, he took the primary solar power generation panel blueprint Lin Wanner handed him and stepped aside to study it. Primary power generation panel blueprint required materials: electronic components times 10, metal parts times 9, wood times 20, glass times 6, springs times 7, stone times 6. Function description: absorbs sunlight and converts it into electrical energy. Output power 100 W. Equipped with a 100 Wh energy storage battery. Compared to the Epic tier version, its efficiency and storage capacity were far inferior. The upside was that no workbench was required. Consume materials: electronic components times 10, metal parts times 9, wood times 20, glass times 6, springs times 7, stone times 6. Obtain primary power generation panel times 1. A flat panel size solar panel appeared in Zhou Yi's hands. He stared at the object for 2 seconds. There was no point overthinking it. Common sense did not apply to this world. If the system said it could produce that much power, then it could. Now he had the power generation panel. Next came the workbench. Primary workbench blueprint required materials: wood times 20, iron nails times 10, stone times 10, springs times 7, rubber times 3. Function description: can craft basic weapons, tools, furniture, clothing, equipment, and other items. Current tier, primary. Next tier, intermediate. Zhou Yi glanced over the material requirements for the intermediate tier. His gaze locked onto the last 2 entries. Iron ingots. Probably smelted from iron or inside a smelting furnace. But what in the world is a heart of the ocean? Heart of the ocean, rarely found in golden supply crates. It is a special material required for upgrading a small number of facilities. Reading this description, Zhou Yi knew this item would be extremely hard to obtain. He had opened countless crates so far, yet never laid eyes on a single golden one. Still, any facility that needed such rare material must be quite valuable. He did not need an intermediate workbench right now. His priority was to craft the basic workbench first. Consume basic workbench blueprint times 1. Consume materials: wood times 20, iron nails times 10, stone times 10, springs times 7, rubber times 3. Obtain basic workbench times 1. Item is large-sized. Stored in system backpack. May be retrieved and placed by thought. Finally, something useful. Zhou Yi clapped his hands and stood up. If this huge thing spawned directly out in the open, I would have no clue where to put it. While he had been studying the blueprint, the girls had already used up their 5 daily special fishing attempts. They were now chatting animatedly, discussing plans for the raft. I think we should expand the raft first, then build a 2-story house. Tang Guoguo waved her hands enthusiastically. Zhao Linger nodded. But how much should we expand it? For a 2-story building, we ought to add windows so we can spot incoming threats. Suyu squatted off to one side, sketching rough blueprints on the ground with pen and paper, deep in design work. Yi Wanqing walked to the raft's edge and stared down at the sea, her brows drawn tight. What if we add fences and anti-collision barriers all around the raft? Creatures in this ocean are constantly waiting for us to fall into the water. Right? Fences. We need fences first. Qin Xiaoyi held paper in one hand, pen clamped between her teeth, looking thoughtful yet confused. Lin Wanner stole a quick glance at Zhou Yi not far away, then turned away blushing, her voice soft. Maybe we should hear what the captain thinks. You can work it out among yourselves. Zhou Yi's voice drifted over. I trust your judgment. Your ideas are probably just as good as mine. He paused for a moment and added another thought. If any of you have played survival building games before, you can draw inspiration from them. The building mechanics in this world work much the same way. Survival building games? Zhao Linger murmured quietly. Does Ark, Survival Evolved count? Zhou Yi froze, genuinely surprised. Absolutely, it fits perfectly. I didn't expect anyone here to have played that. I have. Suyu raised her hand. I played Life After for a while. What about Minecraft? Tang Guoguo raised her hand timidly. I only play creative mode. Minecraft won't work. Yuanqing shook her head. Its building logic defies real-world physics. It won't translate here. Zhou Yi nodded in satisfaction and looked toward Qin Xiaoyi and Lin Wanner, who had not spoken. Qin Xiaoyi pouted. I mostly play Valorant. Lin Wanner twisted the hem of her clothes awkwardly. I only play Honor of Kings. Zhou Yi smiled at them. That's fine. I'm no expert either, just know a little about several games. He then turned to Zhao Linger. One similarity to Ark, this raft has no weight limit. No matter how much we build on top, the total weight counts as part of the raft itself. It will never sink from overload. You can use Ark's design ideas to plan a defensible home where we can grow crops and raise livestock. It will take time, but take it slow. Zhao Linger listened intently. When he finished speaking, realization dawned on her. So you think there might be creatures we can tame and keep here? Probably. Zhou Yi was not entirely certain, but the egg he had fished up the night before had given him that suspicion. By the way, what creatures did you like taming in Ark? Dodos, Moschops, Lystrosaurus, stuff like that. Zhou Yi, what's wrong? Zhao Linger tilted her head and blinked big eyes at him. Nothing. That's perfectly fine. Zhou Yi chuckled. Leave the house design to you and Suyu. Show me the drafts once you finish. Got it. Zhao Linger happily grabbed pen and paper and went off to sketch. Zhou Yi then spoke to Suyu. Another rule here. Facilities and buildings can be upgraded directly on their existing foundations. In other words, once we build a wooden house, we don't need to tear it down. We can upgrade it straight to stone, and later to iron or refined iron. That's just like Life After. Understood. Suyu processed the information quickly. Yuanqing watched him quietly, waiting for her assignment. Zhou Yi glanced toward the raft's edge and frowned. Yuanqing is right. Our current raft is too crude and unsafe. Expand it first, put barriers all around, and avoid touching seawater for long periods. He pulled some materials out of his system backpack. I have resources we can forge into iron spikes to mount along the raft perimeter. They will offer some basic defense. How do you know all these rules already? It's only the second day. Qin Xiaoyi asked curiously. Just guesses. Zhou Yi replied without turning his head. Guesses? That seems pretty risky. Qin Xiaoyi muttered. Zhou Yi smiled and said nothing. They really were guesses. He had noticed workbenches upgraded with materials on top of existing structures instead of requiring brand new blueprints, and that had given him his theories. Basic materials were plentiful for now, so wasted building resources were not a major concern. Moreover, sea monsters had not attacked the raft directly. That was clearly tied to world mechanics. Rafts themselves were safe from monster aggression. The sea creature from earlier had only attacked when someone fell overboard. As long as everyone stayed on the raft, they were theoretically safe, apart from threats from other survivors. Seeing Qin Xiaoyi and Lin Wanner standing around with nothing to do, Zhou Yi waved them over. Come help me. Let's craft the sail and mast first. Right then, a private message popped up. Spicy turkey snack. Boss, has an island appeared near you? An island? Zhou Yi frowned and scanned the horizon. The sea stretched calm and sunlit in every direction. Nothing but water as far as the eye could see. Feng Yun, no. Nothing but ocean around me. There was a short pause on the other end. Spicy turkey snack. Boss, have you built propulsion yet? Sails or oars or anything? Zhou Yi's mouth twitched. He had intended to build them multiple times since yesterday, yet something always came up to distract him. They still did not even have a sail. Feng Yun, we've got a full crew on this raft. Lots going on, haven't gotten around to it. Spicy turkey snack, no worries. Islands spawn in multiple zones. They hold resources you cannot get from fishing. They are another major source of supplies. Feng Yun, how do you know that? Spicy turkey snack. Boss, remember? I'm all alone on my raft. I've been hanging out in world chat to pass time. I heard it from other survivors. Zhou Yi glanced sideways toward the other end of the raft, where the girls huddled together poring over blueprints. Fair enough. With company like this on his raft, he had no urge to idle in world chat typing to strangers. Talking face-to-face beat typing any day. He refocused and typed again. Feng Yun, what resources can you only get on islands? Not from fishing. Spicy turkey snack, loads of things. Ores, for example. You have to go ashore to mine them. You cannot fish or out of the sea. Smelt or in a furnace to make iron ingots. and you unlock tons of new craftable items. They are extremely important. Zhou Yi rested his chin in one hand and stared at the message deep in thought. Iron ingots. He needed iron ingots to upgrade his workbench to intermediate. If or could only be gathered on islands. Visiting islands was no longer optional. It was mandatory. Another message arrived quickly. Spicy turkey snack, but I heard islands are not completely safe. Monsters spawn there, and other survivors will land too. Most importantly, there is a time limit for exploration. You can only stay on an island for 8 hours. You must return to your raft before time runs out, otherwise. Feng Yun, otherwise what? Spicy turkey snack. If you miss the deadline and fail to return to your raft, you are eliminated. Elimination means death. Zhou Yi fell silent for a few seconds and closed the chat window. He turned around and found Qin Xiaoyi and Lin Wanner had sat down on either side of him without him noticing. What he said sounds true. Lin Wanner whispered. We haven't found even a single piece of iron or since yesterday. So islands mean huge opportunities, but also huge risks. Qin Xiaoyi nodded, then looked at Zhou Yi. What do you say? If we spot one, should we go? Yes. Zhou Yi answered without hesitation. We have to. If we don't go, other people will. Iron ore will be critical later on. We cannot go without it. Take this basic propeller blueprint for instance. Any item with iron components requires iron ingots. Qin Xiaoyi and Lin Wanner bowed their heads and said nothing. Zhou Yi looked at them and smiled faintly. Scared? Of course we are. Qin Xiaoyi pouted. Who knows what we will run into ashore? We barely have any weapons right now. It will be fine. We mine what we need and leave right away. No unnecessary delays. Zhou Yi lifted his hand, almost reaching for Qin Xiaoyi's head, then paused halfway and patted her shoulder instead. I'm here. You've seen what I can do. I can handle a few adult opponents easily. Qin Xiaoyi noticed that small, aborted gesture. A strange flicker crossed her eyes, yet she gave no outward reaction, only rolling her eyes at him. Aren't you full of yourself? All right, enough chatting. Let's get that sail built. Zhou Yi laughed and set to work. Tang Guogua, who was busy helping with blueprints, casually glanced toward the distant ocean. Is that land? A dark dot had appeared on the far-off horizon. It was definitely not another survivor's raft. The dot was simply far too large. Hearing her shout, everyone walked over to the raft's edge. Without telescopes, they held palms above their brows and squinted into the distance. Is that an island? Zhao Ling'er asked. It looks like one, but it seems to be getting bigger. Su Yu frowned in confusion. Yi Wanqing looked left and right, her expression tight. But we don't have a sail installed yet. We haven't moved at all. Something is off. Zhou Yi's expression turned serious. That is not an island. Not an island. Tang Guogua blinked. Then what? A giant turtle? The second her words left her mouth, Zhou Yi spun around. He deducted the required materials for sails and oars and summoned the finished items. Everyone help. It really is a massive turtle. A huge tortoise. It's heading straight for us. Start rowing. The girls froze for a heartbeat, then their faces paled. Within mere breaths, the dark dot grew larger. Its outline became clear. It truly was a turtle the size of a small island. Its head alone was as big as a house, swimming directly toward them. The girls spun around and grabbed the oars. How can a turtle possibly be this huge? Qin Xiaoyi stamped her feet anxiously, yet hurried to the raft edge and rowed with all her strength. What do we do? We might not survive this. Zhou Yi rowed while frantically thinking of escape plans. Their raft was 16 square meters, neither huge nor tiny. None of them had any real rowing experience. Panic threw their rhythm completely off. The raft merely spun in circles, making zero forward progress. I don't want to die. Zhao Ling'er's eyes welled up with tears. She watched the colossal creature draw closer, powerless to stop it. The monster's enormous form stirred several meter-high waves across the once calm sea. The raft drifted helplessly like a tiny leaf upon the water. A heavy wave crashed over them. Su Yu slipped and was swept toward the raft's edge. Zhou Yi dropped his oar, snatched her wrist in the nick of time, and hauled her firmly into his chest. He stepped backward to steady himself in the center of the raft. Su Yu was soaked all over, gasping heavily, clutching tightly to his shirt. Zhou Yi released his grip around her waist and shouted at the others. Stop rowing. Get back over here. Gather behind me. The girls stumbled back, clutching their oars and huddled together behind him. The giant turtle loomed before them like a towering building, overwhelming to behold. Waves slammed against the raft non-stop, shaking it violently. Zhou Yi struggled to stand upright, propping himself with an oar, shielding the girls behind him. He stared fixedly at the approaching behemoth, inwardly just as terrified. Where on earth did this gigantic turtle come from? The giant turtle halted several dozen meters before the raft and swam no closer. Its shell was slick, marked only by natural ridges. Its massive head rose high, seawater cascading down from its features like waterfalls. Its huge eyes swept over every person on the raft. After scanning the group, its gaze locked onto Zhou Yi. Their eyes met, and Zhou Yi's heart skipped a beat. He instinctively took half a step backward. As he desperately searched for a way out, the egg inside his system backpack glowed faintly. Zhou Yi noticed the strange reaction from his backpack and looked up at the silent giant ahead. An absurd thought crossed his mind. Could that egg, barely bigger than a goose egg, have come from this colossal beast? How would that even make sense? A creature of this scale could presumably produce offspring far larger than that. Had he fished away its precious egg, and had it tracked the scent all the way here? Before he could decide whether to pull the egg out, the giant turtle gave him one long look, and its massive body slowly sank downward. Before everyone's astonished eyes, the island-sized creature slipped beneath the waves and vanished, leaving only spreading ripples behind. Relieved, the girls' legs gave out. They sat heavily on the raft's surface, gasping for breath. What just happened? Qin Xiaoyi wiped seawater off her face. That giant turtle traveled all this way, just stared at us, and left? And it definitely focused on one of us for a moment. Yuan Qing had also noticed that detail. Who? It couldn't have come to say hello to an old friend, right? Tang Guogua quipped once she recovered. Me. Zhou Yi stood still, gaze fixed on the stretch of sea where the turtle had disappeared. I may have taken something that belongs to it. What did you take? Qin Xiaoyi walked over to him, suspicious. You've stayed on this raft the whole time. Where would you have gotten something of it? Zhou Yi said nothing. He silently pulled the faintly cyan, glowing egg out of his backpack. The girls who had been sitting on the floor crowded around at once. An ostrich egg? No, ostrich eggs are far bigger. And this one glows. Su Yu's mouth twitched. You said you took something of its. You aren't suggesting this egg is its offspring, are you? I don't know for sure. Zhou Yi shook his head. This is the only mysterious item I have. It can't possibly be interested in my instant rice or kanji rations. Lin Wanner could not hold back and giggled. Should we keep this egg? Yi Wanqing asked with worry. Zhou Yi fell into thought, uncertain what choice to make. I think we ought to hold on to it. Su Yu stared at the egg in his hands. At least it didn't attack us this time. We have no idea what would happen if we threw it away. If we lose this item and it comes back hostile, we will have nothing to fall back on. That makes sense. Zhou Yi nodded. He checked the shell for cracks and stowed it back inside his system backpack. Once our house is finished, we can try hatching it. Speaking of our house, Zhao Linger pulled out her finished blueprint and waved it. The rough draft is done. We can start building. Good. Let's get to work. Zhou Yi wasted no time and began installing the sail. After their terrifying encounter, everyone worked with far greater efficiency. The raft expanded twice, growing from 16 square meters to a 6-meter by 6-meter platform, a full 36 square meters. A 1-meter tall wooden fence circled the perimeter. Rope bound the joints, and sharpened iron spikes pointed outward at regular intervals. The 2-story wooden house occupied 2/3 of the raft's surface. Its sloped roof was layered with overlapping palm fronds, shedding rain and blocking harsh sunlight. When wind blew, the palm leaves rustled softly. The first floor was one large open room. Against the wall on the left stood a reinforced long wooden table holding a cooking station and sorted storage crates. A walkway opened up on the right, leading to a small window whose shutter hung from rope. Propping it open gave an unobstructed view of the sea. Wooden shelves lined the walls, holding jars of sea salt, barrels of coffee beans, and spare coils of rope. A narrow wooden staircase with smoothly polished handrails leaned against one wall. Upstairs were 2 divided rooms. The larger inner room held 6 palm leaf mats laid side by side. A small wooden crate served as a nightstand beside each mat. Tang Guogua moved her mat next to the window, saying she wanted to wake up seeing the ocean. The smaller room sat beside the stairwell, partitioned by wooden planks and a thick cloth curtain. It contained 1 single mat and 1 crate. Drawing the curtain gave a compact but functional private space. Lin Wanner thoughtfully set a small basin beside its window. Soft fabric torn from old clothing lined the bottom, and the egg rested gently upon it. Sunlight fell on the spot during daytime. The egg's cyan glow dimmed under bright sun, and faint patterns across its shell seemed to pulse softly when observed closely. By the time the girls finished constructing their home, the sun hung low above the horizon. Zhou Yi had barely participated in building. He left the construction work entirely to the 6 girls, while he spent the whole day fishing and improving his physical condition. While the improvement from each cast was negligible, After fishing nonstop for hours on end, the cumulative effect was undeniable. He felt as if he could knock a man out with a single punch right now. He pulled up his status panel to take a look. Current stats. Zhou Yi. Male, 22 years old. Strength, 10 average. 6. Agility, 9 average. 5. Stamina, 9 average. 5. Defense, 7 average. 4. Every stat was nearly twice the average for ordinary people. Zhou Yi was quite surprised to see such gains after only a few hours. At this rate of improvement, he might really turn into a superhuman someday. He gripped his fishing rod, grinning to himself, when a sudden exclamation came from behind him. An island. It's actually an island this time. Qin Xiaoyu's cry drew everyone's gaze toward the sea. The sun hung low on the verge of setting, spilling orange glow across the water. Right at the boundary where light met waves, the silhouette of an island lay quiet on the surface, like the first oasis spotted by a traveler crossing the desert. It really is an island. Should we sail over? We've drifted at sea for a day and a night. My legs feel weak. Solid ground would be such a relief. Several girls crowded against the railing, chattering, unable to hide their excitement. Zhou Yi did not rush to reply. He climbed up to the second floor alone, leaned halfway out the small window, and raised the monocular telescope he had traded for at the market earlier that day. Markings shifted across the lens. The straight, line distance to the island was roughly 4 kilometers. Light was fading fast. The island loomed dark in the viewfinder. He could barely make out coconut trees and low shrubs along the shore, with a thick canopy of trees stretching inland. Further inside, everything vanished into shadow. Instead of studying details on the island, he slowly panned the scope across the surrounding sea. One sweep, then another. No wooden rafts, no sails, no glow from campfires. Zhou Yi let out a quiet breath of relief. At this stage, other survivors were far more dangerous than sea monsters. He stowed the telescope and prepared to head downstairs when an unfamiliar voice drifted over from beside their raft. "Ladies, are you heading for that island too?" Qin Xiaoyu was leaning on the railing watching the sunset when the voice reached her. She turned her head and saw a small wooden raft had drifted close without anyone noticing. A young man sat aboard it. He wore a black hooded windbreaker, with a long blade strapped to his back. Bright inlays on the scabbard glinted under the sunset. He sat on the edge of the raft, one knee drawn up on the wood, his other leg hanging down with toes brushing the seawater. The sea wind flipped back his hood, revealing his face as he deliberately struck a poised profile. "The sea isn't safe after dark around here," he said, his voice lowered, heavy and slow. "If you ladies plan to go ashore, we could travel together. I can keep you safe." A brief silence fell over their raft. Qin Xiaoyu and Lin Wanner exchanged a fleeting glance, so quick no outsider could catch it. Yet a subtle tension rippled between the 6 girls. "Really?" Qin Xiaoyu tilted her head, her tone carrying measured hesitation. "But there are quite a few of us. Wouldn't we be a hassle for you?" "No trouble at all." The man waved his hand slowly, as if moving in slow motion. "I've survived against all odds already. I'm happy to help others where I can." He spoke softly when saying survived against all odds, then fell silent, leaving space for the girls to ask questions. But no one asked anything. After waiting a moment, he casually brushed tousled hair from his forehead, deliberately revealing a scar across the back of his hand. "Yesterday, 7 people on 3 rafts tried to steal my supplies. I fought them all off single-handedly." "Wow." Tang Guogua blinked. "You're really impressive, mister." Her tone sounded perfectly sincere. So sincere that anyone who missed the slight tightening of her lips would believe her. "That scar on your hand." Lin Wanner spoke up all of a sudden, her gaze fixed on his knuckles. "Does it hurt?" The man glanced down at his hand and wore a faint smile. "I'm used to it. This injury means nothing. It's far too risky for a group of women to drift on the open ocean." He shifted his gaze from Lin Wanner to sweep across every girl. "You're lucky to have crossed paths with me." Qin Xiaoyu tilted her head to study him. Her gaze traveled slowly from his face to his shoulders, then lingered on the long blade strapped to his back, before returning to meet his eyes. "I like your windbreaker," she said. The man instinctively straightened his back. "Only the collar looks a little ill-fitting," Qin Xiaoyu remarked. He lifted a hand to adjust his collar. Qin Xiaoyu mouthed 2 words toward Tang Guogua. Tang Guogua covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. "Now then, I haven't learned your names yet." The man tidied his clothes and spoke formally. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Yang Hao." "Our names," Tang Guogua drew out her words. "Why don't you guess?" Yang Hao froze. How was he supposed to guess that? An awkward silence settled over the scene. Just then, the cabin door swung open. Zhou Yi stood in the doorway holding the telescope. He glanced indifferently at Yang Hao before turning toward the girls, his tone gentle. Come get dinner. There's no rush to land on the island today. Waiting until sunrise will be safer. Coming, Captain. Let's go, time for food. Ooh, what are we having tonight? Once Zhou Yi appeared, the girls lost all interest in teasing Yang Hao and walked toward him. Yang Hao stared at Zhou Yi in shock. He's the captain? One male captain and 6 female crew members? Zhou Yi stood aside at the doorway to let the girls file inside. As Lin Wanner passed by, he murmured quietly, "Who's that guy?" Lin Wanner did not spare Yang Hao a single glance, her tone completely different from her demeanor a moment earlier. A stranger who drifted by. A stranger, huh? Zhou Yi nodded, looking at her with a half-smile. But you seemed quite interested in him just now. Lin Wanner's fingers stilled as she untied a length of rope around her wrist. She had not expected her little playful act to be noticed by Zhou Yi. Her lips parted, yet she could not find the right words to explain. Her earlobes flushed visibly. I just... Her sentence trailed off unfinished. Zhou Yi smiled deepened slightly. Relax, I'm only teasing. He lightly rested a hand on her shoulder for less than a second before pulling it away. His tone turned serious. Hurry inside for dinner. We spent all day building this cabin. Get some rest after eating. As he spoke, he gently tugged her wrist to guide her toward the door. His fingertips brushed her warm, delicate skin for only an instant. He stepped back outside and closed the door behind him. Go ahead and eat without me. I need to sort something out. Before Lin Wanner could reply, he was already walking toward the edge of the raft. Lin Wanner stood in the doorway, staring blankly after him. The spot on her wrist he had touched still held a faint warmth that would not fade. Her heartbeat stumbled, though she wondered if it was only her imagination. Her mind felt empty yet cluttered all at once, impossible to untangle. Do you think he was jealous watching us mess with that guy? Qin Xiaoyu had crept up behind her, voicing the thought out of nowhere. Suyu scooped food into bowls without lifting her head. What? Have you taken a liking to him too? What are you talking about? Qin Xiaoyu pouted and lifted her chin. I still haven't forgotten how pushy he was earlier. Besides, she paused and eyed Suyu suspiciously. Why did you say too? Suyu's hands paused briefly. Then she continued preparing food as if she had heard nothing. But Xiaoyu, you said you'd let him off because you liked his jacket. Zhao Linger popped her head out from the side, innocently adding to the conversation. Qin Xiaoyu was left speechless. She opened and closed her mouth repeatedly, before shooting a sharp glare at Zhao Linger and glancing toward the door once more. Ugh, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm eating. She huffed and sat down at the table, burying her face low over her bowl. A faint blush peeked out from her hair above her ear. Outside, at the edge of the raft, Yang Hao watched Zhou Yi approach. You're the captain? He still struggled to accept it. If this man was their captain, then these women had been staying with him ever since they arrived on this sea. Zhou Yi nodded calmly. That's right. I captain this raft, and they are my crew. Is there a problem? There absolutely is. Yang Hao raised his voice slightly before forcing it down again, jaw tight. I've been alone this entire time since yesterday. Meanwhile, you're with 6 beautiful women. Surely you must be taking advantage of your position. Taking advantage of them how? Zhou Yi's gaze turned cold as he fixed Yang Hao in place. Do you think I'm the kind of person who abuses authority to mistreat others? Intimidated by his stare, Yang Hao stepped backward, unable to retort. Zhou Yi glanced toward the cabin. Warm yellow light seeped through gaps in the planks. Muffled laughter from the girls drifted outside. He looked back at Yang Hao, the coldness in his eyes deepening. You know everything now. His voice stayed soft, as if discussing something trivial. Do you think I can let you leave alive? Yang Hao's eyes sharpened, retreating another step. Instinct screamed that the young man standing before him was dangerous. Before Yang Hao could grab the sail rope, Zhou Yi leaped heavily onto his raft. The violent impact sent the whole craft rocking, and Yang Hao tumbled onto the wooden surface. Zhou Yi pulled a long blade from his system backpack and advanced toward him slowly, step by step. Don't blame me for being ruthless. His voice drifted over calmly. Blame the fact that you've learned too much. Word could spread about me having such a crew. I'd become a target for every survivor in this region. Your fishing rod? Yang Hao's pupils widened abruptly. Zhou Yi paused briefly, then shrugged. Well, the secret's out. Might as well let you know the full story before it ends. He wasted no more words, raising the blade high and swinging downward. Yang Hao squeezed his eyes shut and shouted with all his strength. Feng Yun, it's Guoba. The blade froze. It hung mere centimeters from his neck. Zhou Yi stared down at him, the sword steady. What did you call yourself? Yang Hao cracked one eye open, glanced at the blade beside his throat, and swallowed hard. I'm Huajiwi Guoba, the one who traded you the water purifier blueprint for fresh water and warned you islands would spawn earlier today. It's you? Zhou Yi lowered the blade to his side. How did you end up here? He remembered the survivor going by the online handle Huajui Guoba. The man had been straightforward, freely sharing information, and even spoken up for him in the world chat. Yet he could hardly match that helpful contact with the show-off standing in front of him now. Seeing the killing intent fade from Zhou Ye's eyes, Yang Hao breathed a heavy sigh and scrambled up to brush splinters off his clothes. I spotted this island and drifted over. I had no idea this raft belonged to you. When I saw the ladies, I just wanted to make a good impression. Zhou Yi waved a hand. I know you don't harbor malicious intent. If you did, things would not have stopped at just posturing. He slid the blade back into his backpack. Don't keep calling me Big Shot. It feels strange. My name's Zhou Yi. We're around the same age. Drop the formalities. Yang Hao scratched his head with an awkward laugh. Surviving, here's the priority. I figured projecting a strong image might help keep danger away. As he finished speaking, Yang Hao suddenly spotted something beside Zhou Ye's feet. His expression shifted, and he grabbed Zhou Ye's arm, yanking him back from the raft's edge. Zhou Yi stumbled toward the center and turned. Two tentacles as thick as human arms swayed over the spot where he had stood. They would have wrapped around his calves a moment later. I was indeed trying to impress the girls, but the waters around this island really are dangerous after dark. Yang Hao frowned at the tentacles slipping back into the waves. These creatures lie in wait for anyone going into the water. Normally they shouldn't attack people staying on rafts. Something's off. Zhou Yi watched the tentacles vanish into the dark sea and relaxed slightly. Thanks. It's far too easy to get ambushed in this darkness. Grr. Yang Hao opened his mouth to reply when a loud rumble came from his stomach. Both men looked down at his abdomen. Silence stretched for a second. Yang Hao rubbed the back of his neck with a nervous chuckle. My fishing rod's only grade D. Almost everything I've caught these past 2 days was raw materials. Thieves stole nearly all my supplies last night. I barely escaped with my life. Zhou Yi looked at him and sighed. Low, grade fishing rod. Terrible luck. No teammates. Robbed while traveling alone. This man really had terrible luck. Forget it. You helped me out with the blueprint and island information, and you just saved me from those tentacles. Zhou Yi tilted his head toward his raft. Come along. Come where? To get something to eat. You haven't eaten properly in 2 days. The sea monsters won't need to get you if you starve first. Zhou Yi glanced back at him. I don't like owing favors. I'll treat you to a proper meal, and we can talk more about this island. It's important, but mark my words. If you plan anything deceitful, not at all. Even without my warning, you would have noticed those tentacles yourself. Yang Hao waved his hands enthusiastically, rocking the raft. I'm honored you'd share your supplies with me, Brother Zhou. Enough. Zhou Yi cut him off. Save the flattery. I'm not talking to you because you're good with words. Yang Hao smiled sheepishly. More than 10 minutes later, inside the cabin, Yang Hao sat at one end of the long table, 3 empty containers stacked before him. 2 self-heating rice packs, 1 cup of instant noodles, plus several pieces of bread he folded and devoured in 3 bites each. He ate with total focus, the sound of his spoon tapping the bowl constant. He tilted his head back to drain the last of the soup, patted his stomach and let out a deep belch. When he lifted his head, he found all 6 girls staring straight at him, eyes locked onto him from every direction. Qin Xiaoyu rested her chin in her hands. Zhao Ling'er tilted her head. Tang Guowa held her cup mid-sip. Su Yu leaned against the wall, expressionless yet watching intently. Lin Wan'er wore a faint smile, while Yi Wanqing folded her arms, observing him as if assessing his character. Yang Hao's Adam's apple bobbed. He quietly set down his bowl and wiped his mouth. Thank you. This is the first full meal I've had since yesterday. Huh. Tang Guowa tilted her head innocently. Earlier you said you defeated 7 people by yourself. If you looted all their supplies, shouldn't you have plenty of food? Wait, didn't he say 7 people? Qin Xiaoyu added dryly. Color flooded Yang Hao's face. He opened and closed his mouth, fingers twisting together under the table. He avoided eye contact, fixated on the empty bowls before him. Lin Wan'er took pity on him and tapped Qin Xiaoyu and Tang Guowa each on the shoulder. All right, stop teasing him. Ha ha ha, he's such an easy target. Zhao Ling'er finally burst out laughing, no longer looking shy and reserved as she had by the railing. Yang Hao's face burned all the way to his neck. He shot a desperate look toward Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi leaned back in his chair, watching the girls tease Yang Hao until he looked ready to hide under the table. He finally spoke up. Okay, enough. He'll get discouraged. Let's discuss important matters. He turned to Yang Hao. You said these waters are dangerous. What exactly are we up against? Hearing Zhou Yi speak, the girls composed themselves and sat straighter. Qin Xiaoyu sipped water, still smiling. Yang Hao exhaled heavily, relieved to change subject. I heard survivors talking at the trading post yesterday. Certain resources like iron, ore, and oil can't be fished up. They can only be found on islands, and those materials are vital for crafting equipment. So groups of raiders have started camping near islands. Camping near islands? Everyone spoke in unison. They wait offshore to rob anyone who goes ashore. Yang Hao's tone turned grim. For these bandits, stealing supplies from other survivors is far easier than fighting sea monsters to gather resources. Zhou Yi tapped his fingers gently against the tabletop. So you're saying we shouldn't land after dark? Poor visibility makes ambushes likely. We shouldn't get too close to the shore at night. Exactly. Go ashore during daylight. Gather what you need, then leave quickly. Don't linger. Yang Hao turned serious. Also, survivors can only stay on an island for 8 hours. Anyone who fails to depart before the time limit can never leave again. Zhou Yi stood and walked to the window. Night had fully fallen. The sea stretched dark and endless, moonlight painting thin silver streaks across the waves. Only a faint outline of the island remained, flickering in the darkness. He stared toward that shape and tapped his fingers lightly against the window frame. It seems landing on this island won't be as simple as we hoped. After eating and drinking their fill, Zhou Yi brought Yang Hao back outside. Since they planned to head to the island to gather resources the next day, they needed to prepare all tools in advance. He sat on the edge of the raft and laid out his materials one by one. A system notification flashed across his vision, and a stone axe appeared in his grasp. Its blade was rough, and splinters of wood still jutted out from the handle. How efficient is this thing for gathering? Zhou Yi turned the axe over in his hands. Yang Hao was idly swinging his D-grade fishing rod nearby, and did not look up. Not very. A stone axe is the lowest tier tool. Besides, you need a pickaxe for mining. Axes are only good for cutting wood. A stone axe, a stone pickaxe, and several sharpened wooden spears were lined up beside Zhou Yi. Hey, brother, what exactly are you planning? Yang Hao nodded toward the wooden house. Are you taking all 6 girls to the island tomorrow? Yeah, keeping them close to me is safer than leaving them on the raft. You're going to protect 6 people alone? Yang Hao sized him up. Do you think you can handle it? Zhou Yi did not answer. He picked up the newly crafted stone axe, gripped both ends of the handle, and gave it a gentle heave. Crack! The solid wooden handle snapped cleanly in two. He tossed the broken piece into the sea, where it splashed lightly. Judging by his expression, he had not even used half his strength. Yang Hao stared at the driftwood bobbing on the waves and swallowed hard. You're insane. With that strength, one punch would probably finish me off. No wonder those girls are willing to stick with you. You could easily take down multiple people with power like that. I've never tested it. Zhou Yi made another axe and set it aside. Firearms don't exist here right now. We need to keep a low profile and avoid drawing too much attention. He glanced toward the wooden house. Warm light seeped through the gaps in the wooden shutters and fell across his cheek. A faint smile tugged at his lips. They trust me as their captain. I have to live up to that responsibility. Just responsibility? Yang Hao leaned closer, his tone teasing. Nothing more. Zhou Yi turned his head to look at him and smiled. If I said no, would you believe me? Nope. There's your answer. You really are something. Yang Hao plopped back down and sighed dramatically. I'm so jealous. Zhou Yi ignored him and kept sorting through their equipment. Yang Hao cast his lines several more times, only reeling in low-grade supplies. He tossed his rod aside and opened the world channel to see what other survivors were chatting about. The translucent screen flickered wildly the moment it activated. Prison 9 sect. Guys, I fished up a purple supply crate. Finally. Ha ha. Prison 9 sect. Wait a second. The purple crate only gave me a blueprint for an inflatable doll? Damn it, stupid system. Fruit machine with grenades hidden. Ha ha, keep complaining. I love this. Too sort of bottom. Too lazy to top. You're laughing so loud it hurts my eyes. Raid Widow Village. Guys, I landed on an island. There are women in swimsuits here. Hurry over. Peaceful mind. Youth sure is energetic. Which island is it? Spill the details. Girl pig. Voice message, is there any guy who can take me along? I want to gather resources on the island too. Hopeless man. Cut that cutesy fake voice before you speak. Girl pig. Voice message, that's not a fake voice. What's wrong with you? Hopeless man. She got mad. Ha. Turkey crisp. Has anyone run into pirates? Supreme Han. Pirates? What pirates? Lucky break. I have. I spotted a group lurking near the islands on my side. They're probably ambushing other survivors. Cosmic Tyrant. I saw them too. They camp along island shores. Run if you spot them. Fight back if you can't escape. Word is some of them are wanted criminals and death row inmates from the real world. They've actually killed people. Peaceful mind. Don't make baseless claims. We're all just trying to survive here. Extreme measures are understandable. Turkey crisp. Oh? Sounds like you're admitting something. Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Kid, do you really think we can't settle scores just because we're separated by screens? Yang Hao's fingers froze. He subconsciously glanced at Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi had stopped working at some point and was staring at the glowing screen in front of Yang Hao. The chat log reflected in his pupils. His expression remained calm. Only a faint curve appeared on his lips. They're awfully arrogant. He looked away and picked up a piece of wood, sharpening the tip into a spear with his blade. Yang Hao hovered his thumb over the interface, ready to fire back and argue. Zhou Yi did not lift his eyes as wood shavings drifted onto the planks. Let them run their mouths. We focus on staying alive. He held up the finished spear tip to inspect it before adding. They can't reach us through the screen no matter what they say. I'm not scared of them. Good point. Yang Hao grinned and typed directly into the world channel. Turkey Crisp at Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Who are you yelling at? Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Oh? This kid's got quite the attitude. Turkey Crisp, so what? You think you're special? You're just cowards too afraid to set foot on islands, ambushing others for scraps. What makes you so cocky? Hopeless Man at Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Trash like you will always be trash, wherever you go. Prison 9 Sect. Hold on, guys. Once I craft an AK, I'll take these creeps out and protect everyone. Turkey Crisp at Prison 9 Sect at Hopeless Man. Nice one. Lauda. Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Heh. A bunch of inexperienced brats. Let's see how loud you talk when we meet face to face. Hopeless Man at Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Who are you yelling at? Prison 9 Sect at Uncle Butcher teaches lessons. Who are you yelling at? Stuck facing two angry replies at once. The user Uncle Butcher teaches lessons stopped sending messages. No one knew if he had muted the channel out of frustration or realized he was outmatched in the argument. Turkey Crisp, great job everyone. Let's add each other as friends. We can team up 3-man squads to explore islands together sometime. Prison 9 Sect, sounds good. Hopeless Man, once I craft an AK, I'll carry all of you. After sending friend requests, Yang Hao closed the interface feeling triumphant, like a general returning from victory. He even swung his D-grade fishing rod with more energy than before. He turned toward Zhou Yi and saw him fishing quietly. Curiosity got the better of him. How come I've never seen you post anything on the World Channel? Me? Zhou Yi's movements paused briefly, then he shook his head. I don't have time to chat online. Besides, the system broadcasts everything. I don't want to draw attention and become a target. That makes sense. Yang Hao glanced toward the wooden house glowing with warm light, envy creeping back into his tone. Right? You've got 6 gorgeous women keeping you company. No wonder you don't need to hang around the World Channel chatting like a lonely guy like me. Zhou Yi smiled and shook his head, declining to respond. He continued fishing for supplies. Meanwhile, inside the wind-shielded wooden house, the atmosphere was completely different. The girls cleaned up the tableware. Zhao Linger brewed several cups of warm coconut milk powder and handed one to everyone. Beneath warm lamplight, the young women sat and leaned casually, finally relaxing the tension they had carried all day. Their conversation drifted freely. Qin Xiaoyu sat cross-legged on the mat, holding her warm cup, and sighed. Yang Hao is a bit pretentious, but he's really had a rough time. Drifting alone for 2 days without a single hot meal. We're incredibly lucky, Zhao Linger replied quickly with bright eyes. If Zhou Yi hadn't found us, we would have suffered even worse. We might still be huddled on that tiny raft, helpless and scared. At the mention of their vulnerable early days, the girls shifted awkwardly. Lin Wanner tugged at the simple garment Zhou Yi had made from the first cloth he crafted, her ears growing warm. You're right. We owe him so much. He's powerful and thoughtful, always planning ahead for us. He's more than thoughtful. Tang Guogua hugged her knees and rested her chin on top, speaking softly. This morning when I fell into the sea, I choked on water and lost my senses. When he pulled me out, I felt safe knowing he was nearby. We can't be dead weight tomorrow on the island. Yi Wanqing twirled her short blade firmly. He looks after us, so we have to pull our own weight. We can't just rely on him for everything. Qin Xiaoyu instantly straightened her back, determined. Dead weight? Tomorrow I'll mine more than anyone. I'll cut down trees. Tang Guogua raised her hand. Zhao Linger tilted her head thoughtfully and suddenly spoke. Maybe I can catch some small animals to raise? Suyu tightened her grip on her cup, sensing trouble. Are there even small animals on the island to catch? You never know, Zhao Linger blinked. What if I find a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Hold on. Qin Xiaoyu slapped her thigh. Rex is way too dangerous to capture. And where would a dinosaur even come from? Since when is Rex a small animal? Zhao Linger tilted her head innocently. I'm just joking. Ugh, you got me again. Qin Xiaoyu scrambled over to tickle her. Zhao Linger laughed and wobbled, nearly spilling her drink. Tang Guogua quickly steadied the cup. Suyu shook her head with a smile and refocused her attention on a blueprint. After the laughter died down, Lin Wanner held her cup and spoke earnestly. Gathering resources isn't hard. The real challenge is getting back safely. If we run into wild creatures, or the raiders Yang Hao mentioned on the island, it'll be dangerous. Don't worry. Yuan Xing wiped her blade and tucked it back at her waist before sitting cross-legged. Tomorrow is only the third day. Any monsters on the island can't be overwhelmingly strong. If the system spawned unbeatable enemies this early, no one would survive. It has to maintain balance. Balance. Qin Xiaoyu settled back and adjusted her clothes. This isn't a video game. You can complain to developers if a game is unbalanced. There's no customer service here to help us. The system will maintain order. Suyu spoke calmly and confidently. Looking at the rules these past few days, beginner protection periods, limited fishing attempts, scheduled island access. It doesn't want us all to die. It wants us to survive, but only by following its rules. She paused and added, tomorrow's greatest threat won't be powerful monsters. It will be gathering enough materials within the time limit while avoiding other landed survivors. Tang Guogua lifted her chin from her knees and whispered, we'll go in quickly and leave without being greedy. Zhou Yi will make proper arrangements. You trust him a lot. Qin Xiaoyu glanced at her. Tang Guogua did not look away, just smiled faintly. Don't all of us? No one argued with that. Under warm golden light, the girls exchanged glances. Quiet smiles tugging at their lips, but none spoke first. All right, we should get some rest. Lin Wanner stood up and smoothed her clothes. I'll go call him back. Call him back. Qin Xiaoyu dragged out the words, shifting her seated position and grinning teasingly. Sounds like things are moving fast between you two. Lin Wanner froze. Her ears flushed bright red in an instant. That's not what I meant. I just said he should come rest. I didn't mean. She stumbled over her words, growing increasingly flustered, and stamped her foot. Her cheeks burned bright. You're misunderstanding me. Qin Xiaoyu laughed until she slapped her leg. I didn't say anything. You're the one jumping to conclusions. She mimicked Lin Wanner's tone in a high-pitched voice. I'm going to call him back to rest together. Who said that? Xiaoyu, stop teasing me. Lin Wanner glared at her, her neck also turning pink. She hurried toward the door and fumbled with the handle twice before opening it. The moment the door shut behind her, cool sea wind washed over her heated face. She leaned back against the wooden door and covered her cheeks with her palms. Her skin burned hot. Honestly, she muttered so softly only she could hear. She was not sure if she was annoyed at Qin Xiaoyu's teasing or the quiet thought that had briefly crossed her own mind. Taking a deep breath, she fixed her clothes and walked toward the railing. Moonlight spilled across the deck. Zhou Yi sat alone at the edge of the raft with his back to her. Beside a pile of finished stone tools, he quietly fished for supplies. Yang Hao had already returned to his separate raft to sleep. Lin Wanner slowed her pace as she watched his silhouette. She stood there observing him for a moment before remembering why she had come outside. Her voice came out tight. She cleared her throat, trying to sound normal. It's getting late. You should come rest. Zhou Yi turned his head toward her. You girls can go ahead. I need to finish these tools and fish for more materials to craft weapons at the workbench. We need thorough preparations for tomorrow's trip to the island. They sent me to fetch you. Lin Wanner hesitated and swallowed the rest of her sentence. If you're busy, I can stay and keep you company. Zhou Yi paused his work and smiled. I'd like that. It gets lonely out here alone. He patted the palm mat woven from palm fronds beside him. It was narrow, only wide enough for two people to sit shoulder to shoulder. Lin Wanner retrieved her B-grade fishing rod from her inventory and sat down next to him. Their arms brushed against each other on the tight mat. She cast her line and began fishing. A gentle silence fell between them, only the two floats bobbing gently on the sea surface. Your fishing rod. Lin Wanner broke the silence, looking at Zhou Ye's glowing trident rod. Can I try holding it? I want to experience fishing up high-grade supply crates. Of course. Zhou Yi unfastened the safety rope and handed the rod over. Give it a shot. Lin Wanner took it happily. She could still feel the warmth from his palms lingering on the handle. The rod felt heavier and sturdier than her B-grade rod. Before she could cast the line, the golden patterns winding along the surface dimmed layer by layer, and the handle quickly turned cold. What's going on? She stared at the rod in confusion. Does it need some kind of energy source? Right after she spoke, warmth spread across the backs of both their hands. Zhou Yi had shifted to sit directly behind her. His chest rested lightly against her back, and he covered her hands with his own. He leaned forward, his breath brushing against her ear. This rod recognizes its owner. It only activates when the wielder is its master. His voice was low and close, and she could feel the faint vibration of his chest as he spoke. I see. Lin Wanner's back stiffened slightly, her voice trembling. They were extremely close. Close enough that she could feel the steady beat of his heart. Is something wrong? Zhou Yi noticed her tense shoulders. Are you uncomfortable? No. Lin Wanner lowered her gaze, staring fixedly at the floating marker on the water. Her voice was barely audible. It's just, I've never been this close to a guy before. It feels strange. Haven't you? Amusement laced Zhou Yi's quiet tone, his lips near her ear. I held you this morning when I pulled you out of the sea, remember? Don't bring that up. Lin Wanner blushed and turned her head to glare at him. Their noses nearly touched. She quickly twisted back toward the ocean, her face burning. You're way too close. Fair enough, Zhou Yi murmured, starting to pull his hands away. Lin Wanner did not speak. Almost unconsciously, she leaned back slightly into his chest. We haven't caught anything yet. Her tone was soft, half explanation, half quiet request. Zhou Yi paused. He lowered his head, a smile tugging at his lips, choosing not to call her out. He freed one arm, slipping it around her waist and gently drawing her closer to him. His touch was light. She could pull away effortlessly if she wished. Yet she stayed nestled against him, calm as a kitten. Hi. Tier supply crates are extremely heavy. He murmured beside her ear, his tone as formal as delivering a weather report at sea. Be careful not to get pulled overboard. Humph. Troublemaker, Lin Wanner whispered softly. There was no real anger in her voice, and a smile she could not suppress curved her lips. Zhou Yi said nothing. He held her close, resting his chin lightly on the top of her head, his gaze fixed on the fishing float. Sea wind drifted between them, lifting strands of her hair to brush his chin, creating a faint tickling sensation. Moments later, the float on the water plunged sharply downward. Got a bite. Reel in, Zhou Yi whispered. Lin Wanner hummed and tried to lift the rod. It would not budge. The fishing line stretched taut like a silver string, running from the rod tip down into the dark ocean depths. She pulled harder once more, yet the line remained motionless, as if the hook had caught a reef on the seabed. Something's off. Zhou Yi sensed the anomaly. His right hand, resting over hers, added strength. Dark golden patterns etched onto the rod lit up, brighter than they had ever been before. The line slowly rose, weighed down by an immense load that bent the fishing rod into a full bow. It's massive. Zhou Yi removed his arm from her waist. Both hands gripped the rod to haul upward. Lin Wanner held firmly to the rod, leaning backward to match his strength. A dazzling golden light burst open beneath the waves. Ding. Catch successful. Obtained. Legendary gold tier supply crate. Contents. 416 Hong Kong dollars assault rifle, also known as M416 assault rifle ×1. 5.56 millimeters ammo ×40. Extended magazine ×1. No way, a legendary gold crate. Staring at the golden treasure chest resting on the deck, Zhou Yi's breath caught for a split second. He had fished for supplies for a long time, consistently getting mediocre loot, with purple high-tier crates as his best haul up to this point. And his very first gold-tier reward turned out to be a firearm. Wanner, you're my absolute lucky charm. He spun toward her abruptly, eyes shining brightly. I've fished forever without getting a gold drop, and the moment you take the rod, we hit the jackpot. You're incredible. Excitement surged through him. He cupped Lin Wanner's cheeks and gave her a light peck on the cheek to express his joy. The clear sound echoed across the quiet sea. He quickly stepped away, carrying the rifle to the side to examine it. This is amazing. Zhou Yi squatted down, turning the heavy M416 over in his hands, utterly fascinated. I love this weapon in the game. I never imagined I'd hold the real thing. With this, we stand a far better chance against the pirate crew. Wait a second. We only have 40 rounds and one rifle. I don't have blueprints to craft more guns, nor materials for extra ammunition. The raiders will likely be armed too. We need to stay cautious and avoid unnecessary risks. Zhou Yi muttered to himself as he walked toward the workbench with the rifle. He failed to notice the strange state Lin Wanner was in. Lin Wanner stood frozen in place. Her cheek still tingled where he had touched her, and the sound of that moment reverberated in her ears. She slowly lifted her fingers to touch the spot, pulling her hand back slightly from the warmth. Her heart hammered wildly in her chest. He had kissed her cheek out of sheer excitement. Lin Wanner bit her lower lip, a jumble of emotions welling up inside her. She was not upset, but something else lingered. Why could he act so casually afterward? How could he carry on normally while her heart raced uncontrollably? Zhou Yi remained oblivious, his full attention fixed on the firearm. Right, I think the workbench can break down finished items into blueprints and raw materials. He set the assault rifle onto the workbench and opened its interface. Basic workbench. Item: M416 assault rifle. Craft. Dismantle. Zhou Yi frowned and selected craft. Crafting failed. Insufficient materials. Workbench tier too low. Missing materials: M416 assault rifle blueprint ×1, tactical stock ×1, grip ×1, magazine ×1, iron ingot ×600, refined iron ingot ×50, metal parts ×350, spring ×220. Requires intermediate workbench to craft. Whoa, we need all matching attachments just to build one. Zhou Yi breathed out, stunned by the staggering resource requirements. Let me test ammunition crafting instead. He stowed the rifle and placed a single 5.56mm bullet onto the workbench. Tier 1 5.56mm bullet ×1. Crafting failed. Insufficient materials. Workbench tier too low. Missing materials: gunpowder ×10, iron ingot ×10. Requires intermediate workbench to craft. I figured as much. Zhou Yi nodded. Firearms and ammunition demand at least an intermediate workbench. Gunpowder for bullets makes sense. He did not consider dismantling the rifle or ammunition. They planned to land on the island tomorrow. He would not foolishly take apart their most valuable equipment now. Tier 1 5.56 ammo. Could there be higher grade ammunition variants later on? Zhou Yi picked up the bullet and studied it. Did I forget something important? Zhou Yi finally looked up from the workbench, storing the bullet in his backpack. He turned around mid-sentence. Warner, listen up. Now that we've got this rifle. His words died away. Lin Warner had quietly stepped behind him. The instant he turned, she wrapped her arms around his neck, stood on tiptoe, and brushed her lips lightly against his. Zhou Yi's mind went blank. His eyes widened in shock. Before he could process the brief contact, she pulled back. It lasted no longer than a dragonfly skimming the water's surface. Lin Warner stepped backward and let go of his neck. Color spread from her cheekbones to the base of her ears. Yet she met his gaze steadily, a faint smile playing on her lips. Her tone carried a hint of playful defiance and quiet delight. Now we're even. With that, she turned and hurried toward the wooden cabin without glancing back, leaving Zhou Yi stunned and bewildered. Zhou Yi stood rooted to the spot, still holding the posture from when he turned. The faint sensation of that brief touch lingered on his lips, and his heartbeat descended into chaos. His mind struggled to catch up with what had just occurred. The girl had taken him by surprise. And what did she mean, they were even? He shook his head. That could not count as settling the score. Zhou Yi watched her figure vanish into the cabin. A soft smile rose on his face. He turned back to inspect the assault rifle and adjust its sights. Still, his mood resembled a calm lake disturbed by a tossed stone. Ripples spread outward, never to settle completely again. Inside the cabin doorway, Lin Warner leaned against the wooden door and sank down, covering her face with both hands. What have I just done? That was my first kiss. Her voice came out muffled between her fingers, trembling softly. Oh no, will he think I'm too forward? What am I going to do? She peeked through the crack in the door. On the deck, Zhou Yi focused on adjusting the rifle's sights, seemingly unaffected by what had happened. Then he tilted his head and glanced straight toward her hiding spot. Their eyes met through the narrow gap. Lin Warner instantly pulled back, pressing her back firmly against the door, her heart pounding violently. He saw me. He looked over. This is terrible. Early the next morning, sunlight seeped through gaps in the wooden shutters when Lin Warner woke up. The other girls still slept soundly on the mats, steady breathing filling the small cabin. She rolled over and buried her face in her blanket, letting out a quiet sigh. She had no idea how to face him today. Activity could already be heard on the deck. Yang Hao's loud voice carried over from afar. Morning, Brother Zhou. Did you stay up all night? You're already out here fishing. I'm not made of iron. I slept, just woke up early. Zhou Yi replied evenly, sounding exactly as he usually did. Lin Warner buried her face deeper into the blanket, grumbling quietly. Stubborn Zhou Yi. He acts like nothing happened. Humph. Yang Hao walked over and sat beside him, glancing toward the cabin. Should we wake the girls? No need. The island isn't going anywhere. Let them rest more. Everyone wore themselves out yesterday. Zhou Yi never shifted his gaze from the float. All right then. Yang Hao cast out his line aimlessly and bit into a bread roll. I asked around about the island this morning. Most ore deposits are located on the southeast side. I don't know if every island follows this pattern, but it's useful information. Southeast. Zhou Yi lifted his head to check the sun and orient himself. From our position now, that's roughly the direction we're facing. Yeah, but the ore locations aren't exactly a secret, so the raiders lying in ambush are likely waiting around the southeast shore. Zhou Yi finished his thought. Exactly. To stay safe, We should consider taking a detour. After all, you've got the girls on board. Yang Hao glanced back at the cabin and changed his tone quickly with a grin. Hey, good morning, ladies. Who are you calling ladies like that? Qin Xiaoyu stepped out first, half a compressed biscuit sticking out of her mouth, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Call me that again, and I'll toss you into the ocean. My bad, my bad. I meant respected young ladies. Yang Hao raised his hands in quick apology. Tang Guogua followed behind Qin Xiaoyu, drowsy and mumbling. What's for breakfast, Captain? I'm starving. Supplies are limited, so make do. Zhou Yi pulled bread and milk from his system storage and handed them over. We haven't crafted proper cooking equipment yet. Otherwise, we could make warm congee. Count your blessings. Yang Hao sighed. At least you all have bread and milk. Plenty of survivors still struggle to get enough fresh water. Of course, Zhao Ling'er stepped outside, chin tilted upward with pride. You know how capable our captain is. The remaining 3 girls filed out of the cabin one after another. Yi Wanqing and Suyu still looked half asleep. Lin Wanner walked out last, her hair messy, faint dark circles under her eyes, a clear sign she had not slept well. Zhou Ye's gaze swept across each of them. He paused briefly on Lin Wanner before calmly shifting his sight toward the distant island. Yang Hao just told us most mineral resources lie on the island's southeast coast. However, the raiders who rob newcomers are probably hiding nearby. He pulled his gaze back. What do you think? Should we detour to avoid unnecessary conflict? Silence fell over the deck for a moment. Suyu shook off her drowsiness and spoke slowly. If we take a longer route, will gathering resources become far less efficient? There's no way to know for sure. Resource distribution is only a guess. Different islands might have different layouts. Zhou Yi answered honestly. What if the raiders figure out we'll try to avoid them and lie in wait along alternate paths? Tang Guogua stroked her chin. That's a possibility. Yang Hao nodded. We're not dealing with mindless beasts. These people actively plan ambushes. Zhou Yi waved his hand and pulled the fully tuned assault rifle out of his storage. We'll head straight for the southeast shore. If those troublemakers pick a fight, I won't hesitate to use a few rounds to drive them off. Whoa! Qin Xiaoyu's compressed biscuit dropped onto the deck, her eyes wide open. When did you get your hands on that? I recognize it. That's an M4A1. Zhao Ling'er cut in. It's an M416. Yi Wanqing corrected her softly. Oh right, my mistake. Zhao Ling'er scratched her head sheepishly. This? Zhou Yi rotated the rifle in his hands and smiled faintly toward Lin Wanner. Wanner's incredible luck pulled this up when she fished. Lin Wanner looked up at him briefly, then lowered her head, voice quiet. It was your fishing rod. It has nothing to do with me. Qin Xiaoyu and Zhao Ling'er exchanged glances between Zhou Yi and Lin Wanner. Both suspected something had happened between the two. Nothing to do with her, huh? Yang Hao's eyes stayed glued to the rifle, obvious envy in his expression. It's only the 3rd day and you already have an M4. How is that fair? It's just one firearm. Zhou Yi was not overly excited. This isn't a game. Injuries bring real pain and death. Having a gun gives us confidence, not permission to act recklessly. That's true. Get eliminated out here, and there's no respawn. Yang Hao frowned. Finish breakfast and prepare to land on the island. Aim to return to the raft before dark. Zhou Yi stowed the rifle. Everyone agreed and began eating their morning meal. Zhou Yi clenched his fists, sensing his physical condition had improved slightly since yesterday afternoon. When he raised his head, he spotted Lin Wanner sitting alone on the edge of the raft. She held milk and bread but had not taken a single bite, staring quietly out at the sea. He exhaled slowly and walked over to sit beside her. Don't you like the bread? He took another variety from his backpack and offered it. Try this one. Lin Wanner snapped out of her daze. She glanced at him, then turned away immediately. Humph. I don't want to talk to you. She shot him a sharp glare, stood up and walked over to sit beside Qin Xiaoyu, turning her back fully toward him, making it clear she wanted space. Qin Xiaoyu looked toward Zhou Yi in confusion and mouthed a silent question. What happened between you two? Zhou Yi shook his head helplessly. He sat alone, bread still raised in one hand, muttering. Is she still upset about last night? Wait, I was the one who went first. But then she... He bit off a piece of bread, unable to sort out the tangled situation. He opened the world chat channel to read the latest messages. Charge forward. Guys, this island is amazing. Not even counting, or, I filled my backpack with wild fruits. We've got vitamins covered for days. One punch survivor. Any monsters like dinosaurs or giant snakes on the island. 17 cards. Yeah man, I saw a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its teeth are thicker than my arm. Push ahead, no way. If there are T-Rexes, we're just walking snacks. 17 cards. Just kidding. Rice sack. No T-Rexes, but monsters definitely exist. Areas with heavy monster spawns have treasure crates. You just need to judge if you can defeat what's guarding them. Chain puller. What tier are the crates? Failed college entrant. Simple logic. The stronger the monster, the better the crate. Greasy guy who's hooking up. Tag me in, thanks. Treasure crates. Zhou Yi paused scrolling. There's a wide variety of resources on this island. If we get lucky enough to find an ocean heart, we could upgrade the workbench. He stroked his chin, then shook his head. Forget it. Our main objective today is mining iron to craft iron tools and weapons. Fighting monsters for crates carries too much risk. Before long, everyone finished eating. Zhou Yi stood at the front of the raft and checked all equipment one last time. Is everyone ready? Ready. Multiple voices answered at once. Yang Hao tied his small raft behind the main vessel, and they set off toward the island together. Mountains look close but take ages to reach, and the same rule applies at sea. The island seemed nearby, yet they spent a long time rowing across the water. As they drew nearer, the blurry green silhouette gradually sharpened into clear land. Once the raft finally touched the sandy shore, all the girls climbed over the railing and jumped onto land almost simultaneously. After 2 full days drifting on open water, standing on solid ground felt surreal. The sand was fine and pale white, warmed by sunlight, sinking gently under their feet. Wow! Zhao Linger exclaimed first. The beach stretched along the coastline. Beyond the sand lay coconut groves and thick shrubbery, with layers of towering trees rising deeper inland. Shades of green stacked endlessly, interrupted occasionally by tall trees bearing large scarlet blossoms like splashes of paint. Low bushes near the shore grew unfamiliar plants with palm-sized leaves ranging from dark emerald to fresh green and pale yellow. Round, fist-sized fruits hung from some branches, glinting softly under sunlight. That fruit looks lovely, Tang Guoguo pointed. It's pink, bright pink fruit. The fruit was indeed eye-catching, smooth and round with a delicate pale pink rind, swaying gently in the sea breeze atop high branches. Qin Xiaoyu knelt beside rocks along the shore, where small creatures poked their heads out cautiously. They were turtles no bigger than a human palm, their shells marked with faint golden patterns. They basked on the stones, heads stretching in and out, dark eyes alert. So cute. Qin Xiaoyu reached out to touch it, but the little turtle immediately tucked its head into its shell. When she pulled her hand away, it slowly poked its head back out and tilted it to look at her. Lin Wanner was drawn over too, momentarily forgetting her argument with Zhou Yi. She squatted beside Qin Xiaoyu, watching with sparkling eyes. Zhao Linger simply sat down on the sand, scooping up handfuls of sand and letting it sift through her fingers. Just then, a system notification echoed inside everyone's heads at the same time. You have entered island territory. Exploration timer started. 8 hours remaining. Return to the raft before the countdown ends, or you will be eliminated. Special rule. The beach area does not count toward exploration time. The vegetation line marks the boundary. The beach serves as a safe supply zone, so we don't get timed while we're on the beach. Zhou Yi stroked his chin as he stared deeper into the island, then glanced toward both stretches of coastline. He pulled out his rifle, loaded a magazine, and gripped it firmly. Rest here for a while. I'm going to scout the surrounding area. Everyone turned to look at him. Lin Wanner parted her lips, worried, but seeing the assault rifle in his hands, she held back her words and offered a quiet warning. Be careful. Don't go too far. Don't worry. I'll stay nearby. Shout if anything happens. Zhou Yi smiled at her and lifted the gun slightly. I've got this to back me up. Yi Wanxin curled her lip. You've got a gun, sure, but you can't guard against every surprise. Don't get overconfident. Zhou Yi had already turned and walked along the other stretch of beach. He waved without looking back. Got it. I'll stay alert. Su Yu stared at his retreating figure and muttered. Something feels different about him today. Does it? Qin Xiaoyu knelt down and poked the turtle's head, not looking up. He's always been like this. Don't you all think he seems really cheerful today? Su Yu said softly, still watching his back. Cheerful. Zhao Linger followed her gaze and blinked. Now that you mention it, yeah? He even looks lighter on his feet. Only Lin Wanner sat quietly, watching his meandering figure fade into the distance. A faint smile tugged at the corner of her mouth, one she barely noticed herself. Waves crashed rhythmically against the shore. Gun in hand, Zhou Yi scanned back and forth between the ocean and the jungle edge. Could those other teams have done the opposite and set up an ambush on the far side? He pointed the rifle upward, tied the rope sling, and slung it over his back. He crouched to examine the sand beneath his feet. The shore sand had been smoothed by the tide. Even his recent footprints were already being washed away. He inspected the drier sand further up and found no signs anyone else had passed through. The coastline was quiet. Apart from the crash of waves, There were seabird calls and occasional strange roars echoing from deep within the island. No other rafts could be seen out on the water. Zhou Yi stood and exhaled slowly. Looks like we're safe for now, at least. Ah! A scream cut through the air from the direction he had come. Zhou Yi's heart jolted. He spun around and sprinted back. What happened? On the beach, the girls had gathered in a circle. Zhao Linger sat on the ground with her right leg stretched out. Blood trickled down her sole and dripped onto the pale sand, stark against the white grains. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her lips pressed pale, yet she forced herself not to cry. What's wrong? Zhou Yi rushed over and knelt in front of her, lifting her ankle to check the wound. The cut wasn't deep, but it ran long, slanting from the arch of her foot to the base of her toes. Sand grains were trapped along the edge of the gash. I was running barefoot on the sand and stepped on a shell, Zhao Linger said through gritted teeth. It's just a minor injury. Zhou Yi pulled fresh water and a first aid kit from his backpack. He spoke soothingly as he moved quickly. Don't panic, Linger. We'll rinse, disinfect, and bandage it up. He unscrewed the water bottle and washed the wound. Zhao Linger gasped sharply from the pain, fingers tightening around her clothes. You guys should go ahead without me. Zhao Linger lifted her head and tried a weak smile. I'll slow everyone down. 8 hours sounds like plenty, but it goes fast. I can wait here on the beach for you to come back. No way. Zhou Yi refused immediately, continuing to clean the wound without looking up. The system only said the beach pauses the timer. It never said monsters won't appear here. If something comes out of the woods or another group lands on shore, how will you defend yourself alone? But I'll only hold everyone back. Zhao Linger's voice dropped, eyes glistening. Don't talk about holding us back. Qin Xiaoyu leaned down and patted her head. We stick together no matter what. We aren't leaving you here by yourself. Exactly. Tang Guo'er sat down beside her. There are plenty of us. We can easily look after you. We aren't going far anyway, just gathering or before heading back. Zhou Yi stayed quiet amid their conversation, focused entirely on treating Zhao Linger's injury. Zhao Linger pressed her lips together and stared at his profile as he knelt before her, wanting to say something but hesitating. All done. Zhou Yi tied a neat bow in the bandage and stood up. It's not serious, but try not to put weight on that foot for the next couple of days, or it'll get worse. I understand. Zhao Linger lowered her head and mumbled her reply. Zhou Yi glanced toward the interior of the island and pulled several pairs of shoes out of his system backpack. They were plain canvas shoes provided by the system, nothing fancy, but far better than walking barefoot. Qin Xiaoyu and Tang Guo'er helped Zhao Linger stand. She kept her right foot raised to avoid touching the sand. I'm not going to be able to walk easily like this. As she spoke, Zhao Linger's gaze drifted toward Zhou Yi. Yang Hao grinned and jumped in to help. That's obvious. Zhou Yi can carry you. He's really strong. Carrying someone is no trouble at all, right? Zhao Linger froze for a moment at his words. Her cheeks flushed, and she neither agreed nor denied, simply looking toward Zhou Yi, her intention clear. Zhou Yi breathed out, unslung his rifle, and scanned the group before handing the weapon to Yi Wanqing. You take this. You work out regularly, so you can handle its weight better than the rest of us. He glanced at Yang Hao. And you stay calm under pressure. I trust you with it. Yang Hao had been ready to volunteer to take the gun, but his mouth twitched at the comment about staying calm. Yi Wanqing took the rifle, tested its weight, nodded, and slung it onto her back. After handing over the weapon, Zhou Yi turned and bent forward. Climb on my back, Linger. Zhao Linger was caught off guard by his straightforward gesture and hesitated. I'm fine, really. I can manage. Manage how? Zhou Yi stepped back, slipped his arms under her thighs, and lifted her onto his back. Your foot is bleeding, don't push yourself. Zhao Linger let out a soft hum and wrapped her arms loosely around his neck. She was lighter than she looked. When Zhou Yi stood steady supporting her legs, she barely weighed anything, like carrying a sack of cotton. Her arms circled his neck gently, careful not to hold too tightly. He adjusted his grip and shifted her higher. His hands supported her thighs, and he could feel the softness of her skin. Zhao Linger rested her cheek against his shoulder, blushing and saying nothing. Once everyone had put on their shoes, Zhou Yi carried Zhao Linger and headed toward the treeline first. Let's go. Finish our task early, so we can head back. The underbrush was thicker than Zhou Yi had expected. Past the vegetation lines separating the beach and the forest, there were no flat paths. Low shrubs tangled with vines formed a green barrier as tall as a person. Dew still clung to every leaf. When anyone brushed against them, cold droplets spilled down necks and inside collars, sending shivers down spines. Zhao Linger leaned on Zhou Yi's back and tried to push branches out of his way, but her slender fingers could not shift the tough, intertwined vines. She could only watch as Zhou Yi pushed through using his shoulders. Su Yu and Qin Xiaoyu led the way, wielding machetes. Vines as thick as thumbs fell with each clean swing. Yang Hao trampled the cut brush flat and widened their trail. This path is brutal. Qin Xiaoyu hacked through another vine and gasped for breath. There isn't even a proper trail. Hold on. There's open ground ahead. Su Yu sliced through several more vines. She was right. After roughly 10 minutes of difficult travel, the thick shrubbery abruptly ended. A spacious woodland stretched out before them. The low bushes thinned away, leaving the ground covered in deep fallen leaves that felt soft underfoot. Tall broadleaf trees rose overhead, their canopies interlocking. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the foliage, casting dappled patches on the ground that swayed with the ocean breeze. Small wildlife roamed the woods, not terrifying monsters, ordinary wild animals. A gray hare sat beside a tree root, twitching its long ears as it scratched at the earth. Several short, lagged goats grazed quietly on the grass. Up in the treetops, squirrels gnawed nuts the size of fists, their cheeks stuffed full. Every few bites, they lifted their heads to watch the newcomers warily before returning to their meal. They're adorable. Tang Guier clasped her hands together, eyes lighting up. Zhao Linger lifted her head from Zhou Ye's shoulder, resting her chin on top of his head. She watched the squirrel in the treetops, her gentle breath brushing through his hair and tickling him. There's plenty of timber around here. Let's start gathering wood first. Zhou Yi spotted a flat boulder and carefully set Zhao Linger down. Got it. Qin Xiaoyu tossed her machete aside, grabbed a stone axe, and walked up to a large tree. She spat into her palms for grip and swung the axe hard against the trunk. Mess with me, and you'll regret it. Thud, thud. Each strike left marks on the trunk, which slowly regenerated. Wood steadily accumulated inside her system backpack. Wood +5, wood +6, wood +4, every swing yielded resources. After around a dozen blows, the tree stopped producing wood, and no new marks remained on its surface. This tree has entered harvesting cooldown. Cooldown time remaining, 7 hours 59 minutes and 43 seconds. Okay. Qin Xiaoyu twirled her axe and checked her inventory. She had collected 67 units of wood. It was not a massive haul, but chopping trees was far more reliable than fishing, with no random chance involved. Chopping trees is my specialty. Tang Guier picked up another stone axe and approached a tree. She gently patted the trunk. I've cut down loads of trees in Minecraft. She focused her gaze and swung the axe repeatedly. Wood +6, wood +7, oak seed +1, wood +5. Yang Hao stared at the two women competing to fell trees and let out a low whistle. You two could give a lumberjack a run for his money. Can't argue with that. Qin Xiaoyu wiped sweat from her forehead and brushed stray hair behind her ear. Great work if you can get it. You're pretty skilled yourself. Zhou Yi settled Zhao Linger safely, then picked up a stone axe to select a tree. I would have guessed you studied civil engineering. How did you know? Qin Xiaoyu replied without turning around. Seriously? You look too pale to work in construction. Yang Hao sounded surprised. Relax, I'm messing with you. Qin Xiaoyu shot him an amused glance. You believe everything people say that easily? Yang Hao fell silent, picked up an axe, and started chopping trees nearby. Ha ha ha, Xiaoyu never holds back. Lin Wano laughed out loud. The rest of the group chuckled as well, though none stopped working. The steady thunk of axes echoed through the woodland. Everyone except Zhao Linger joined in. They quickly exhausted all harvestable trees in the immediate area, triggering cooldowns on each one. Zhao Linger kept herself occupied too. She balanced on one leg atop the boulder, holding a monocular to scan the surroundings, and watch for rocks that might contain iron ore. Their main objective on the island was mining. Gathering wood was only a secondary task. She watched carefully for a long time until a flash of sunlight glinting off rock caught her eye. Zhao Linger blinked against the glare and stared toward the spot. Beneath thick bushes sat a boulder roughly 7 to 8 meters wide. Unlike the other stones, its surface was dusted with a faint golden tint, as if coated in fine gold powder. Zhou Yi, come look at this. Unsure what it was, she waved at Zhou Yi, who was still busy chopping trees. I found a strange-looking rock. Zhou Yi finished several more swings to put his current tree on cooldown and stowed his axe. Zhao Linger hurried to hand him the monocular. Quick, take a look. Zhou Yi climbed onto the boulder. Zhao Linger pointed deeper into the forest. Over there, under the bushes. It's easy to miss, but it has a golden surface. See, Zhou Yi raised the monocular and searched the indicated direction. After roughly 10 seconds, he located the stone. It matched her description perfectly, with a wide stretch of golden coloring across its exterior. He observed it for a moment, then a smile spread across his face. If I'm not wrong, that should be iron ore.